explained further on the Citizen, the government is mulling more dams to control flooding as 58 people die in 2 weeks. Now, the weatherman has already talked about this, and we'll come to that, the fact that there are heavy rains across the region. So when you see this happening in Tanzania, even in Kenya, be ready. But the big headline on the front page of the Citizen is why further dollar relief is on the way. Yes. So they do expect the tourist season, which kicks off next month, to actually provide relief with more dollar inflows into the economy in Tanzania.
Oh yes, we'll also be telling you how the effect of the dollar has been in effect on matters, the fuel prices. Now let's get into the weather as we're talking about it and just see how things have been. And according to the Kenya Meteorological Department, they say get ready for more rains across the country this coming week. And heavy downpours expected in the coastal region, the central highlands west of Rift Valley, western Kenya, Rift Valley, Lake Victoria Basin, southeastern lowlands, and then the northeastern. They say stay safe, everyone.
Actually, I think they said that only 3 counties will not get this rain.
Yes.
And that's, I think, Turkana, Marsabit, and Wajir, the topmost counties.
Oh, yes.
Everywhere else, expect a lot of rain in the coming 4 days.
And even when you take a look at Wajir, the northern part of Wajir, there might also be some chances of rainfall, even if it's some light showers on there. So Turkana quite dry on that bit. The whole border of Uganda might probably get some rainfall, but then Isiolo also looks dry, as well as Garissa, but then to the bottom of it. But when you get to Nairobi Central, the central area, Nairobi, as well as Rift Valley and the western region, it is going to be heavy downpour this coming week. Whatever you had seen last week, the weatherman says, well, expect that and probably more. That is how things are looking like on matters weather for today. So, tafuta umbrella, tafuta gumboots.
All right.
Oh, yes.
Let's take a look at traffic now. And Nairobi and the major tributaries within Nairobi look green so far. But there's something I've noticed. And you see this section, if you're traveling and you're using the Nairobi-Nakuru highway, past Limuru town, next to the escarpment around that Kimende area, Kijabe, yes. You can see there's a snarl up there. There's a lot of yellow and bits of red on the road, meaning that this, because it usually happens, this section, especially when there's too much traffic on the highway, this section is usually very problematic. So if you're using that road right now, probably it's because of the rain, probably it's because of the fog early in the morning. So yes, there's a bit of a snarl up on the main Nakuru Nairobi highway around Kimende and Kijabe areas there. It extends up until sections of Limuru. But after that, coming all the way into Nairobi, things are not looking that bad. Past Rungiri, past Kikuyu, this is Gitaru. Past Gitaru, coming all the way down to Westlands and into the CBD. Things are looking nice. Even the southern bypass from Kikuyu all the way to Mombasa Road is green. You can use that as well. The other major tributary into town is Kiambu Road. Kiambu Road is looking nice, green so far, from the bypass all the way past Tridgeways, past DCI, all the way to the Pangani interchange is looking green. Let's take a look at Thika Road, and Thika Road, let's go as far back as Ruiru. Yes, from Ruiru, the Spa Mall, Ruiru, and the bypass there. Everything so smooth so far, past KU, past Githurai, Kasarani, all the way Garden City Mall. Nothing to report.
Just before you hit KCS.
Just a bit of a snarl up here. And I think this is because of the Matatu terminus there. At that interchange into Outer Ring Road. Everything else is okay so far, even up to the Pangani interchange. Nothing to report so far. So those two tributaries from the eastern side. Let's come to the southern beats of Nairobi and take a look at probably Mombasa Road. Yes, and Mombasa Road as far back as Syokimau, Gateway Mall.
Yes.
Nothing much past the Hilton Garden Inn, Cabanas, all the way. A bit of a snarl up when you get to Next Gen, just a bit there, and not so bad. Past that, Capital Center into town, okay, something small here at the Nyayo Stadium interchange around there. You can see a bit of yellow on all the roads around the Nyayo Stadium, meaning that there could be a bit of a snarl up there, but after that, into town, it's okay. Let's take a look at Langata Road. Okay, let's start with Ngong Road, because this is also another major tributary. Ngong Road, all the way from the Junction Mall, past Prestige Plaza, all the way to the City Mortuary roundabout is green, so nothing to worry about there. Even this, what do you call this? Mbagathi Way, all the way from the T-Mall roundabout to the City Mortuary roundabout, it's green, so you can use that. Langata Road, from the Galleria Mall, that interchange into Bomas of Kenya, it's green. All the way past Langata Estate, past the Carnival, past the bypass, past the Carnival, all the way down to T-Mall roundabout. It's green so far, and further down to Nyayo Stadium. So far, nothing. So you can use Langata Road comfortably at this time. Let's cross over to Eastlands and see how Jogoo Road is looking. And Jogoo Road from that Donholm interchange there, even the interchange itself is green, so far so good. You come down slowly, a bit of a snarl up around Makadara, a bit of yellow there, mostly because of buses. There's a major bus stop there. After that, another bit of snarl up ahead there, still on Jogoo Road, before you get to the St. Stephen's Church roundabout, a bit of a snarl up there. The other place where there's a bit of trouble is just when you're getting to the City Stadium roundabout. Yes, there's a bit of a snarl up there as you get to the roundabout, but after that, if you choose to go down Lusaka Road, it's okay. Now what is this? All right. Yes, and we have it. We're back.
The Haile Selassie Avenue looks...
Yes, because we were somewhere here at City Stadium roundabout here. So yes, from City Stadium roundabout, you could use the Landis Road, past Gikomba, past the Machakos bus terminus. But then again, once you get into Haile Selassie Avenue around Marikiti there, a bit of a snarl up next to that roundabout and after. So yes, around this area, it's very busy at this time of the day, but once you pass through that, the rest is okay. So far, so good, as at, 14 minutes past 6. So far, you can actually get to town very comfortably. That's the traffic this morning.
All right, from the traffic, let's take a look at what to expect for you this morning. And even as we're talking about the roads this morning, the motorists might really be smiling getting into the petrol stations, and a whole deduction of about 10 shillings is quite a huge deal. Let's take a look at the diary for you, what to expect, just a nutshell, in our subsequent bulletins right here at TV47. On a news diary on the first page, the new fuel prices revised by EPRA will be effective as of today. So super petrol has been reduced by 5 Kenya shillings and 31 cents, 18 Kenya shillings and 68 cents on kerosene, and 10 shillings for diesel. That's quite a huge reduction. So it's a whole pump relief on that. From matters petrol stations to the courts now. And several suspects who are believed to be behind the spate in vandalism cases targeting Kenya Power and Lighting Company, that is KPLC. Operators in Kondele area within Kisumu Central Sub-County who were arrested over the weekend are set to be arraigned in court today. And over the weekend, since around Friday, we've been seeing this happening quite a lot. A number of people just being arrested, and well, really goes to show how much we were pointing fingers on matters, corruption, or what are you doing? Then we're now really seeing it work. On the third page, what you'll be expecting as of 7:30 a.m. today, the Minister of Trade will be debuting the Kenya Business Support Center, which is a one-stop shop for all businesses' needs, such as a registration, licensing, to improve the ease of doing business in Kenya. And I do expect the Cabinet Secretary of Ministry of Trade, that is Rebecca Miano, among other government stakeholders in this. This is going to also be a huge conversation for today, just how important Kenya Business Support Center really is, even for a trader, even for a small-scale entrepreneur. And that is just a nutshell of what to expect as of today. We can get into Today in History, just to remind you whatever happened some time back. So in Today in History, in 2014, suspected Islamist militants abducted more than 100 girls from a secondary school in Nigeria's northeastern Borno state. That's about 10 years ago, on a day like today. That is Today in History, and that cues us for the Magazetini sasa.
All right, the dailies, and we start off with the Daily Nation, and the front page is a montage of different kind of stories, from politics to international news, as well as fuel prices. Politics of term limits is a big headline on the front page of the Daily Nation this morning. Clamor to change law also happened during Kenyatta II era, and they're asking too young to retire. The renewed calls for President William Ruto to rule for more than 10 years, spell out in the Constitution, have reignited the politics of term limits in the country, with proponents arguing that 2 terms are not enough for a president to make any meaningful change, but opponents say such reckless talk should never be entertained. The story is on page 4 and 5.
And this reminds me of your editorial last week.
Yes, of course, the debate began early in the week when the president went to launch that clinker plant in West Pokot, yes. And then the businessman, the industrialist, suggested that President Ruto should actually be there for about 25 years. And a legislator who spoke on the same podium supported that, reigniting this debate. Remember sometime last year there was an MP who had actually taken an amendment to Parliament looking to amend this. So it is, it is one of those discussions you cannot ignore. Ignore it at your own peril, but should we be having such a discussion? That is what features as a main news on the front page of the Daily Nation. And
the fact that even the president didn't come to correct it and say,
never bothered to say anything.
The Constitution says this, so...
Anyway. Another story given prominence on the front page, and this is a big discussion everywhere. People are worried about what's happening in the Middle East. What Middle East escalation means for Kenya, that tiff between Israel and Iran. Iran had sent out some missiles and drones, 300 of them. They were neutralized, yes, but what does this mean, this escalation? What does it mean to Kenya? And they've drawn a map there on the front page of the Daily Nation, just to see the geopolitics of there. Iran, with Syria, Iraq, and Jordan in between, send the drones all the way to Israel.
Oh, yes. And actually on page 2, they now have a whole chronological and a map just showing all that.
Yes, and you know, if you want to sound, not just sounds, but also be part of some conversations. Just take some time and read the story on page 2 of the Daily Nation, so that you can understand na pia unachangia hii mada. Unasema sio tu kusema tu Israel itachapa mtu.
Amele kusema I know.
Hii hapana mpira ya wazungu. At least you need to have some background, you know.
Oh yes.
Yes, the fuel prices feature on the front page as well. Strong shilling fuels drop in pump prices. Yes, so this one is attributed directly to the strong rally by the shilling against the dollar, hence the fuel price change that was announced by IPRA yesterday. Also on the front page, there are no sacred cows in fertilizer scandal probe, says Ruto. Yes, focus still on the fertilizer scandal. And where are we? They also make mention of yesterday's tough footballing day for Arsenal and Liverpool. Arsenal-Liverpool drop precious points as title race hots up. Aston Villa shoot down Gunners at the Emirates as Crystal Palace gets the better of the Reds, handing Manchester City a huge advantage in the run-in. That's the front page. On the back page, matters a Rotterdam Marathon, which happened yesterday. And they say huge respect for Kiptum, who was to take part in this marathon.
Oh, yes.
But he never did.
Interestingly, the widow rest his soul in peace. Yes, his widow was actually present there. She was honored. There was huge respect for Kiptum as Rotterdam race winner dedicated the title to the fallen star. And they have images of some of the athletes who took part there. And you see Ashete Bekele of Ethiopia won the women's race as Abdi Nageye won the men's title. Kenyans, yes, were represented as well. Viola Kibiwott coming second in the women's race and Kenneth Kipkemoi coming in third in the men's race. Fourth, rather. And that's the Daily Nation today. On the Standard, similar headlines focused on this paper, but then we'll start off with matters relief as fuel prices drop for the fifth month. But then the main focus for this, because, well, we've told you how the whole prices have reduced. But then, so according to this paper, they say, well, prices have come down to under 200 Kenya shillings a litre across most towns. It is still over 200 Kenya shillings a litre in Marsabit, while in Liboi it will cost 202 Kenya shillings. Moyale, 203.97, Elwak, in Elwak, 205, Wajir, 203, Mandera, 207, and Lokichogio, 201. So if you're in those areas, well, you have to know all that. Other new highlights now that were not focused on Daily Nation. On the right scroll, killings rise as coroner's office still in limbo. More is on page 10. And in that paper, they say mysterious deaths persist across the country despite a law existing to solve them. The implementation of Coroner Service Act remains a mirage. Wow. Other highlights, no pension trustees yet for state workers. And the union raises alarm that failure to appoint pension trustees has left managers to make key decisions outside the mandate, risking workers' funds. Let me take you to the top, the very top scroll, the tiff and taff between the police and the medic. And picture there, Inspector General of Police Japhet Koome, we shall come for you. Doctors tell IG on demos. World news, Iran attacks Israel, a new world crisis. Taking a look at that in Matter Sports. Obiri Chebet's big day in Boston. But then, the big story, nation set on early campaign mode. You know, that's a conversation that I know you'll be talking about with the Monday panel. And they say leaders aiming to emulate William Ruto, who campaigned for 5 years, are fomenting disaffection across counties, giving governors a hard time. Will it be a poisoned chalice or blessing in disguise for the country? And I remember just after the elections 2022, we really called this and just predicted how this might come to pass. On if we had early campaigns, that there is a possibility that even after the elections and the inauguration of the president, a year or two later, you might be seeing early campaigns, and well, it has begun. Will it sustain till 2027? Yet to see. That is a standard for you on the back page of this paper, things that you love to see as a Manchester United fan. Liverpool's title challenge in tatters as Palace win at Anfield. Are you guys still confident?
You know, because of time, I think we should. All right, Taifa Leo, habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Tulisema mipira ya wazungu haita tu stress. Natembea atakama Simba. Licha ya kuwa limbukeni katika siasa, haogopi kuwasha moto wa makabiliano magharibi. Gavana huyu amezindua vuguvugu la Tawe Movement alilolitumia kuhamasisha jamii yake kukataa umaskini anaodai umekuwa ukipaliliwa eneo la magharibi na siasa za kibinafsi za vigogo Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi. And I was teaching you some Luya. Yes. Tawe simply means no.
No, I know yes. That one.
Nimekataa hiyo Tawe. Well, because of time, let's not waste too much time there. Business Daily.
On Business Daily, Treasury makes U-turn on stopping KQ bailouts. KQ is still making a huge conversation despite the return flights to Eldoret. It was probably a moment to smile, but then they're still in losses and all that. And they say state commits to offer financial support past 2023 deadline. Okay. And the airline received 36.6 billion Kenyan shillings this financial year. And they have a whole graph of the net earnings since 2019 all the way to last year. And
we have about like 3 minutes to go in this newspaper review. So, yes, People Daily, I will crush you. Koome tells medics. This is another big discussion that people are having after the police inspector general sent out a statement telling doctors, nyinyi munasumbua wagonjwa, I will deal with you. It has received a lot of criticism on social media, people telling him, hey, unajua, come slowly, tulia. You have no basis to actually tell medics anything of that sort. The issues around the Middle East also featuring on the front page of the People Daily as well today. On the Star.
MPs want Uhuru CS's probed over 55 billion cash shillings payout. This was a conversation that began immediately after the new government took in effect, and just saying that we will start auditing, what you guys were doing. Well, we're still waiting to see how that will be happening. Other highlights.
The amount is what was spent on fuel and unga subsidy, which was really opposed by this new administration.
Yeah. The highlights seem to be on other papers. Matters Health, latest results confirm malaria vaccine is safe. Despite that, that is what is on other papers. You can take a look at the cartoons.
The cartoons on page 13 talks about the fertilizer scandal. This is the Daily Nation. Cartoon on page 13 of the Daily Nation. Matters fertilizer scandal, and the CS there saying a lot of confused mambo jumbo there. Remember, he has said that this whole thing is fake, non-existent, only exists in the minds of journalists. And he is carrying a sack of fertilizer that has a lot of things in it, including rocks, shoes, and other things. Yes. The other cartoon on page 12 of the Standard talks about Matters UDA elections and the fact that they are required to have 3 deputy party leaders, and that in itself is a big problem, especially when it comes to the position of the deputy president.
Oh, yes.
Yes, those are the cartoons this morning. Do we have any other?
All right,
because of time,
yes.
Time for us to take a break. When we come back, State of the Nation, the power panel this morning, do stand by for that. And yes, you're watching Morning Cafe.
Oh, yes.
Where barriers seem overwhelming, there are those who defy expectations and go beyond the limit. Join us for an inspiring
na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na Nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus niko niwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Good morning, welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47. Time for us to take a look at the state of the nation with my power panel this morning. So far, we do have 2 members of this panel in studio, Kipruto Rapkirwa, former Agriculture Cabinet Minister, and Honorable Dr. Mombingaru, a former MP, East Africa Legislative Assembly. Karibuni sana, good morning.
Asante.
And just as well, because I think you're the diplomatic minds on this desk, well, I want us to start on that note. Yes, there's a lot happening in the Middle East, and we saw that escalation when Iran, it began, I think, with Israel earlier after the assault on diplomatic compound in Damascus, and where a number of Iranian military generals were killed, and Iran had to respond. Now, It is one of those stories that not many Kenyans understand, especially that escalation. But it features on the front page of the Daily Nation. Daily Nation has made it easier for Kenyans to understand what exactly is happening. And they say what Middle East escalation means to Kenya. They've extensively covered this story on pages 2 and 3. White House, US won't take part in retaliatory action against Iran, and what the conflict means for Kenya. So this, I believe the Daily Nation has done a lot of justice to Kenyans who may want to understand this bit. But I want us to focus on something else, and this was a tweet sent out by President William Ruto yesterday on the same. It reads like this: Kenya is deeply concerned by Iran's attack on the state of Israel. It goes on to say, this disturbing development only serves to aggravate an already delicate situation in the Middle East. The attack represents a real and present threat to international peace and security, contravenes the Charter of the United Nations, and should be condemned by all peace-loving countries. In responding to this act of aggression, Kenya urges Israel to show utmost restraint, taking into account the urgent need for all parties to walk away from the brink, beyond which recovery will be enormously difficult. And if you look at this message, the language is actually not so bad, but it is the first sentence that people have a lot of the issue with. It says, Kenya is deeply concerned by Iran's attack on the state of Israel. It does not make mention of what happened in the lead up to this. Most of these tweets by the president don't usually attract this kind of response. It has so far more than 3,000 comments, most of them criticizing the president's stand on this. So Kenyans are saying, on this one, we are not with you, Mr. President. From a diplomatic standpoint, do you think this is really that off, or are we making such a big deal about the president's statement? Dr. Ngaru.
Good morning, Fred.
Good morning.
And good morning to viewers, Kenyans, our colleagues. I am not a very good diplomat, so I will not really dwell on the diplomatic aspect of it. I am a Christian and my views are personal, but I'm concerned that the President, His Excellency William Ruto, has got time to give such an elaborate statement about what happened. If I were in his docket of advice, I still believe he's got so many important things that he should have commented about before he gets into that international affair. For example, we have had doctors on strike. Just yesterday, I don't know why you are not picking it, but there's a humorous tweet about the head of civil service inviting ministry officials and I don't know who else, and somebody wrote back. Mm-hmm. He should not have invited the ministry officials for a discussion. He should have talked to the doctors themselves so that he can hear them. So as far as I'm concerned, I know we are affected by issues that happen beyond our borders, but we have got pressing issues.
Oh, yes. Pressing
issues about the education sector that is just about to open for another term, and the crisis is still there, seething through our nostrils. That probably, and that's why I'm saying I'm not a very good diplomat, should be given the due attention by the president.
Bonakiro, you are a diplomat. You served as an ambassador, and I know you are a student of international relations as well. What is so wrong with this statement by the president?
Well, at the face of it, there is nothing wrong. But there are a number of things that the president needs to be assisted Remember, this is not the first goof he's making. When the war was declared between the two countries, he quickly took sides with Israel, which in my opinion was a bit too rushy, and it was not really necessary, because not many other countries have since taken sides with Israel. Many countries were more cautious. And in terms of diplomatic norms, you must ask yourself, what is in it for you as a country for you to make a comment that you are quick to shoot from the hip? Remember, the same regime also at some stage was almost fighting Sahrawi. And yet Sahrawi has already been accepted by a number of countries, both at the UN and also at the AU. There was also the other diplomatic goof that they made by appointing in Somaliland an individual supposedly to be our ambassador or our high commissioner in that particular domain, against the principle of the African Union, that the boundaries that we found at independence, unless altered by any other fate of history, shall remain that way and shall be respected. And therefore, at independence, the Somaliland and Somalia decided to have their independence almost at the same time, by Somaliland delaying by 1 week, and Somalia and Somaliland coming together, one as a colony of Italy and the other one as a colony of Britain. And therefore, any entity in Africa, especially at the level of head of state, should be cautious about such decisions. So this particular decision, in my opinion, should have taken cognizance of the fact that it was retaliation by Iran. It was not really aggression, because already some of their members of security forces and other diplomats had already been affected. And this was retaliation. And when it comes to an issue of retaliation, you cannot almost portray the person trying to defend himself as the aggressor in this particular game plan. So I would have really wished that the president got somebody well-heeled in diplomatic issues to be his special advisor. Of course, I know Dr. Monica Juma is the advisor on issues of national security or security, but she would have done better as advisor on issues of diplomacy.
Are you questioning the people in charge of matters foreign relations?
Yes, I'm questioning. I'm questioning in the sense that by the time the president makes a statement, it is something that must have been processed. And even NIS should have been informed, because the president is not a commoner. He's not a fellow in the street like me and you. He's somebody who is supposed to have state apparatus at his disposal to be able to make a decision that is well processed and all repercussions have been taken into consideration.
Okay. Bwana Kisia, good morning, karibu sana.
Good morning.
Philip Kisia, also member of this panel. Allow me now to to introduce the other two members who've just joined the panel. That's Philip Kisia, former Nairobi Town Clerk, and Samuel Pagisio, former Cabinet Minister for ICT. Karibuni sana, gentlemen. We started off with what features on the front page of the Daily Nation matters, the escalation of tensions in the Middle East, especially that tiff between Iran and Israel. And the Daily Nation has done us justice, talking about how this may affect Kenya. But we've started off with looking at the statement the president issued on Twitter yesterday. And he said, the first line reads, Kenya is deeply concerned by Iran's attacks on the state of Israel. And that alone has elicited a lot of reaction, especially on the comment section in that same tweet. And many are saying he should have looked at both sides. And we're just looking at Kenya's foreign policy. And the very first goof that this new administration, once it got into office, did was through a tweet as well on matters foreign relations. Bwana Kiru has mentioned about it on the issue of Sahrawi. And one may wonder, was the president in a rush to make this comment? Is it one of those statements that is properly well thought out and guided? And are we approaching our foreign relations in a tweet-like, almost casual manner? Bwana Kisia.
Thank you, Fred, and thank you, colleagues. Good morning to all of you. You know, diplomacy of foreign relations is not a matter of, it's not like a campaign. You can't treat it so casually. I find my president, my friend, as a president of Twitter. He's always on social media responding to things that he shouldn't be responding through social media. The matter that is in the Middle East between Israel and Iran is a very weighty matter, because from where I sit, and I know I don't think I'm very wrong, we have diplomatic relations between Iran and Israel. Both have embassies here, and therefore we have interests both in Iran and Iran and Israel. And therefore, if I were him, and I believe my senior brother, Waziri Kira said, we have top-notch diplomats, people who are well-trained, people who have vast experience in diplomatic matters. He should have consulted very, very widely with those people that he has at his disposal, including NIS, and then make a statement that will not appear to be supporting the aggressor, because we all know that the fellows who took the first shot was Israel, and therefore probably he should have dug deeper into this matter to find out why Israel took that action, and then issue a statement that will not appear to be supporting either side, because you stand to lose. You support Iran, of course, then so and of course, it's a matter of benefiting. Where do you benefit most? If we stand to gain as a nation by supporting Israel, of course, sometimes we end up sacrificing the other smaller, partner. Mm-hmm. But in this case, both partners are equally strong, and I know that we even have deeper relations between those two nations. So if I were the president, if I were him, the best thing to do in this case would have been to wait and see, look at how the thing pans out, and then issue a statement much later. He was in a rush. I think he wanted to be among the first to issue a statement, but his statement has been counterproductive.
Okay. And this is not the first time that the president is coming under criticism, especially in the conflicts around the Middle East. Sometime last year, I think around October, he released a statement declaring that Kenya is standing in solidarity with the state of Israel. Was in the conflict with the Hamas. And that was also criticized a lot, Bwana Pogisio. And one may wonder, this administration seems to suffer a serious deficit when it comes to handling matters diplomacy. Do you think it's something that they've actually sat down and thought about? Or is the president really listening to his advisors on matters of foreign relations?
Well, thank you very much. And again, greetings to everyone else. That situation has been handled by my colleagues very well. The whole story about diplomacy in this country is sometimes a very worrying trend. You see, during the Cold War times, you would need to associate with one side and not the other. But these are not Cold War times, These are times when you play the diplomacy of reciprocity and respect to the international law on diplomacy. So I mean, who are we to be the judge over who is wrong and right? If you ask me, really, who are we, to be the judge? So I sometimes think it's because of issues we've discussed on this panel before, which is who advises, who gives the advice. And there are other issues which you will see later, as you have read in the news, of the nominations for diplomatic posting. Mm-hmm. The same thing. You would wonder, are we concerned about our level of diplomacy? It's very, very important for us to realize that. So when you see statements are being made, you would wonder whether the paper trail was followed or the advice came from all the relevant bodies that should advise. So, I mean, I agree with my colleagues that none of us here, sitting here, can make judgment of who is wrong and who is right, and should we be weighing on one side or the other. There is something called the non-aligned movement that used to exist. But there's also something that you positions that are left, right, and there's also center. So sometimes you have to remain in the center to be able to...
Is it necessary to take sides? Probably because there are other influences, other powers at be. Probably we might want to please some other nations.
That's why I'm saying, I mean, sometimes we cannot be the voice of other people. I used the word, the Cold War. Because during the Cold War, you needed to be specific. You needed to be there. And that's why we had something called the non-aligned movement came out. Because you could be in either side. In 19, I think it was 69 when Obote of Uganda decided to come up with a new document, which was called, he called it Move to the Left, you know, Common Man's Charter. And just by doing that, he was overthrown the next year. Because he decided to say something that decided where he was. So I think we also need to agree that we do not, as a developing country, we have to be extremely useful to all our partners who have diplomatic representation in this country, so that we don't alienate our friends.
And Dr. Ngaro, Bonapogisio raises a very curious and very interesting thing that is happening also as we speak, the vetting of ambassadors. And it speaks to the kind of approach that Kenya has to diplomacy and foreign relations, that we perhaps are looking at it as a very casual thing, that even the caliber of individuals nominated to positions of heads of mission or ambassadors is just anyone without any proper credentials. How come Kenya, on one hand, feels that it can comment on all these things, and on the other feels that anyone can become an ambassador? It's not a big deal anyway.
My look at the appointments, the diplomatic appointments that are ongoing, and what we have picked from the vetting process is a sad affair. And I think, this is my thinking, that the president is reacting to the hustlers. He was challenged that it was a hustler government, hustler, hustler, hustler. And because it has been that song, so he decided to correct that cry of hustler. And again, I ask the same question. In his advisory team, is he not able to know that there are sectors in government that requires, demands professionalism? And diplomacy is one of them. And not everybody becomes a diplomat. And therefore it is a big problem for those who look at things from outside. And therefore it's no wonder that he can tweet that kind of a tweet, probably without the advice. And if he has received the advice, remember in this panel we've said it's a one-man show. Mm-hmm. So he may not
He's a chief diplomat.
He may not be listening to the advice that he's given. But that brings me back to this, I don't know what to call it. Can we have some of those advisors talk to him openly, by thanking him for giving me time to serve in this docket. I've been there for 1 year. I've advised on various issues, and I have seen that there is I'm not being taken seriously. So I don't want to earn a salary over a job that I'm not being
doing nothing.
Doing nothing. And remember, even as we comment on Middle East, sometime last year or a few months ago, I saw another diplomatic crisis somewhere where the leader of an opposition in a particular country was a chief guest in our state house, and the ambassador of that country did not know. Yes, it happened. And that ambassador had to be recalled back home to explain.
How did it happen?
How did it happen?
Yes.
That's also a goof, I think, in diplomatic circles.
Okay.
That is a goof. So we may talk and decide and look at that list and know that we are dealing with policy, diplomatic, domestic, regional, continental, from a one man's point of view.
Okay. Now, former Chief Justice Dr. William Mutunga, in response to the president's tweet, he says, "In his master's voice he speaks, never ever in his people's voice. Our foreign policy is a national shame. It will remain so as long as we do not stand up against the masters and their house," and he uses that word, niggers, "in this slave plantation we call Kenya. We surely know who our enemies are." And I don't know if you agree with that assessment, Bwana Kirwa.
Well, it's a bit strong, but I know Dr. William Mutunga, the person I know, that is in keeping with his style of doing things. He says it as is. He does not have, he doesn't quote with some diplomatic kind of language. But allow me to identify two things. One is that advice is as good as the recipient. You can give me the best advice, written, well written, and well processed, well thought out. But if I don't receive it, or I receive it and ignore, then that advice is dead on arrival. The second issue is that there's been a culture in our country of trying to demean those who have gone to school and make it look like going to school is almost losing innovation. To the extent that now, like the person who is supposed to go to Goma, he said to have been up to Form 4, which is okay. He scored D, and his experience is running a petrol station. So I don't know whether there are many petrol stations in Goma that need to be coordinated in the interest of Kenya, because we have oil crisis and many other things. But what because I talked before I saw exactly where the attack by Israel was. It was in a diplomatic consulate, which is supposed to be, by international laws and norms, is supposed to be an area, even if Kenya is at war with any other country, they cannot attack our embassy in that country. Mm-hmm. That embassy is not supposed to be violated by any way. It's supposed to be somewhere which is left. So for them to have attacked the embassy and kill some of the officers at that particular embassy, that was already a mistake by Israeli. And the president should have been cautious not to say anything for the intervening period, for purposes of ensuring that we don't unravel the feathers. Finally, Fred, what worries me increasingly is that the president does not realize that he's a player in a very serious network that has a lot of foreign interests that are looking at Kenya as a possible market for their ideas, market for their goods, their services. So at the end of the day, if we don't watch, we may be doing things that are likely to go at variance with the position that Kenyans will accept as a people. Because at the end of the day, we are being exposed every day. We are being exposed, we are being laughed at by our neighbors,
And without really overstretching this discussion, the fakeness that is now existing in Kenya is making Kenyans look like if you go to Uganda with certain goods, they will start by inspecting to ask you whether are they originated from Kenya or have they even gone through Kenya, if you are a Kenyan. So it is getting to a level that it is no longer proud to be a Kenyan.
Okay.
It is becoming almost that you have to give an excuse. I'm a Kenyan, but I'm a nice guy, which is really not supposed to be the case. Once you say I'm a Kenyan, in the past, even our passports, you could be accepted, almost go through and inspected. But today to say I'm a Kenyan, you could be a Kenyan from Somalia, you'd be a Kenyan from any other country with trouble in the region, because it is easier to get a passport in Kenya for a non-Kenyan than for Kenyans.
And Bwanakisi, as we come to the end of this conversation, if you go through a lot of the comments, many Kenyans saying you're not speaking for us on this one, and you're speaking for someone else, you're being manipulated. Do you think that this administration has yielded too much to other foreign powers, probably, that even when you see President speak or tweet like this, it's not really him, it's other influences that are in play?
You see, Fred, other than just being the nice boy for the powers that be, I think Ruto wants to come out as the strong man in Africa, the new sheep on the block, the guy who knows it all. And you know, he wants to be ahead of his peers, which is, I think, really working against him. You know, if you look at nowadays diplomatic appointments all over the world, diplomats go to foreign land for one purpose: interest of your nation. It's about trade, promotion of your goods, promotion of tourism, if that is what you have. So when I saw my good friend and president appointing a few people whose, in my view, the appointments were just a disappointment. It reminded me of how this country was treating diplomatic appointments. It was based on tribe, chronism, incompetence. And, you know, people have moved through that phase. You know, in the 60s and 70s, would have forgiven him for appointing somebody who, in my view, or for appointing people whose you know, qualifications don't meet such an office. I would have excused him if we were in the 80s. You know, in the 80s, that would have passed. That you can even pick somebody who is not suitable to be a chairman of a primary school in my village to you know, a very serious diplomatic position like this one. He forgets that that office, the diplomat, the ambassador, the high commissioner, those are people who are going to represent the Republic of Kenya. They are not going to represent the interests, his personal interests, or the interests of his family. So he needs to treat some of these appointments with a lot of, you know, with some civility. I think he's downplaying some of these appointments, and that is why, and I agree with my very good friend, Emeritus Mutunga, that, you know, I'm seeing a lot of buffoonery tendencies in the way and in the manner in which these appointments are being made. I mean, I think he needs to be a bit more serious.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is a big story featuring on the front page of the Daily Nation. Matters to do with the escalation of the conflict in the Middle East region, especially now with Iran coming into the fray. And the Daily Nation has done us justice, talking about how that escalation and what it means to Kenyans. And I was advising Kenyans, if at all you want to contribute to this debate, that probably you grab yourself a copy of this and read a little bit, so that wengine wakizungumza mambo ya Middle East, hata wewe unasema, yeah, naelewa hiyo maneno. I want us to move to something else that is not featuring on any of the dailies this morning, and interestingly so, I don't understand why. Today, the National Wage Bill Conference kicks off at the Bomas of Kenya. It's a 3-day conference to discuss the ballooning public sector wage bill. A lot has been said about that. This ties in even to the discussion about the doctor strike and why Kenyans cannot pay, or why this government cannot even afford to pay more to the intern doctors, Bwana Pugisio. As we speak, they say that about 47 or 48% of all collectible revenue by the KRA actually goes towards servicing a public sector wage bill. And that's a huge undertaking. Ideally, it should come down to 35% of that. As it is, we're paying about 1.1 trillion shillings against a collection of about 2 trillion or thereabout. And clearly, it is not sustainable, even as we try and support the doctors. The fact that this discussion has come around the same time is interesting enough. But when it comes to public sector wage bill, this is not a problem that started yesterday. It has been a problem with this country for a while, and especially with the advent of devolution, the situation was made worse. We've had issues of ghost workers, we've had issues of extra allowances that are not really accounted for. And one may wonder, are we having the right discussion right now when we're discussing public sector wage bill? And do you think this conference will be consequential in as far as reducing the same?
Well, first of all, I don't believe that a conference can really change much. A conference can simply generate proposals, but the actions have to be taken by the people in government. So yeah, and we like these conferences so much that the last thing I said, I think, when we were here is that we really need a conference to deal with specific things that we know we are the cause of it. The last two governments have been responsible for ballooning of this wage bill. The people in those governments are still here, and they know exactly what they did to make sure that to make the wage bill go as high as it is. So, what is the conference going to be? Theoretical? When you can actually decide what we did was this and that, let's undo it. Okay? This ballooning of the wage bill will continue. This wage bill will continue to rise, whether we like it or not, because of our lifestyle. We live as though our GDP is the same as that of the USA. We live as though we don't realize we don't recognize the realities that people are suffering on this ground, that people really are suffering. The Mwananchi is suffering. And that's why you can actually play with Mwananchi. You can decide, give them fake fertilizer, give them fake seeds, give them, and all these things come because it's the way we take the nation. That's the way we took the bill, the wage bill that high. If we begin to realize that we made a mistake, why do we need a conference? Why don't you just correct the mistake? Why don't we cut down on your expenditures?
Isn't it time we have a proper conversation as a nation? Probably this conference gives us that forum that we need to discuss. It will be painful if at all the government decides to be bold enough and cut down on some of this expenditure.
Well, it's about time that the government did that. The people who are owed have suffered for so long. They have suffered. People have been auctioned. People have actually committed suicide. Families have been disintegrated. So you continue doing conferences, anyway, I don't mind doing conferences because there's money allocated for conferences. I think that's why we have to spend it. But sincerely speaking, it's about time you bit the bullet and said we want to cut down on certain things and let's pay people who have supplied us, people who have given us loans, and let's pay them so that at least we get back to a place where we can start. We can even suspend other things, but please make that decision as a government. The conference can help you, but really you need to move in that direction.
The president may argue that he has already started the conversation, especially with the doctors, and saying, hey, we cannot afford what you're asking for. Let's be realistic. The wage bill is already too bloated. This is the much we can give you. That is a kind of pain that probably could be as a direct consequence of this conference, if at all the government is bold enough. Don't you think that probably it is time Kenyans from all sectors, not just the doctors, actually embrace that and say, fine, it is too much, we need to cut down?
Fred, thank you. My stand is that we don't need a conference. And let's be very truthful. And I'm sure my friend Kisia may have the same thoughts. The issue of ghost workers have been with us for a long, long, long time. I was as mayor of a local authority, and I can tell you, we tried to get into it. The consequences are of another day. Philip Kisia has gone through the same. You go in, get a payroll, and out of that payroll, you find that 7,000 of people in that payroll are non-existent.
And you continue to pay?
No. We had a way from a management point of view, because once you are head of institution, you become a manager. You stop being a politician and you manage. But it is painful and it is hard. And even the Ministry of Local Government itself would tell you, don't touch that, because it has got consequences. So from where I sit, the conference is just there because there will be per diems to be paid. But if the president and his team were truthful, they know how to go about it. It did not happen just because of devolution, but devolution actually increased the problem, because those who were in the civil service are still there. Others were moved to the counties. And so there's a harmonization that seriously needs brains that will tackle it. Okay. That's number one. Number two, was there, and I'm just asking because I don't know, is there some documents that the government has worked on, an audit, the service delivery, how much would it cost if we reduced this workforce by this number? What are the ghost workers who are responsible? So if there is a document that is truthful, that is being brought to that conference, and people are allowed to actually talk about that document and offer solutions, then it's a good start. But if we are starting by letting us come as Kenyans and shout, talk, then you pick it, and we take it back for processing. Then after that, we come again and call you back. Last time we met here 6 months ago, this is what you told us. And in between, we are still paying. In between, we are still employing people through nepotism, through cronyism, through name it. It is still going on. So it becomes a vicious circle. And we are not going to get
it requires a lot of boldness,
yes,
Bwana Kirwa, to tackle this issue. Do you think there's enough political goodwill to actually go that direction right now? If at all it would require a reduction in the workforce, probably in the public service.
Yes, I would be overreaching myself if I said there is enough boldness, because I know every regime fears about political repercussions of any decision they make. But to start from where Dr. Mumbi has just left, what we critically need, and we've said it here, and once more, we are going to say human resource audit. In terms of human resource audit, you will be able to identify what is the actual workforce against those who are said to be in the payroll and they are not working. The ghost workers that we saw in State House, the ghost workers that we saw in Parliament. And you remember last week they were running an audit query that Controller and Auditor General is saying there are two individuals in one county government being paid salaries through one account. Really, how do you allow two individuals to earn through the same account? Unless Mumbi and I, we seem to have colluded that you'll be working, I will not be working, but the salary will come through you so that you give me a share of what you are supposed to get. That's possibly a ghost worker, and that is almost bordering on fraud. The second issue, Fred, is to do what we call audit of systems. You audit the systems to ask yourselves, are all these services being rendered by so many Kenyans? Do they require the kind of workforce complement that you are talking about? Or can systems be automated such that whatever we've been doing manually can be reduced by automating, such that with the press of a button, one person can do what 3 people are doing? That is where now the painful decision will come in. The third issue is auditing of the processes that we use. Are the processes that we use time efficient? Human resource, are we using the human resource optimally? And the fourth and last thing, in my own considered opinion, is to ask ourselves, when we devolve the system, what are the areas of duplication? You have a ward administrator in Kablamai, where I come from. You have the chief, and you have the MCA. Have we really reorganized so that one of them, one of those positions can disappear? Remember, this provincial administration was not supposed to be there, but it has remained because possibly it's a useful tool for government operations, and we don't have the courage to say, okay, we can move from this system to a new system that possibly is time efficient and is also resource efficient. So cutting on the workforce is not an answer. We just need to say, what is the excess that we don't need? Okay. How can we improve efficiency so that 3 people can do the work 5 people have been doing? Where do we take the 2 that we are removing from this system?
Okay.
So that we just don't punish Kenyans and we take them home. Remember, this is not the first time it's happening. There is the retrenchment program that came because of structural adjustment programs by the World Bank and the IMF. And many families were lost. They were making it, they were baptizing by calling it the golden handshake. That golden handshake actually destroyed families because people were taken out of workforce and they did not know what to do.
Are you saying we shouldn't go that direction again?
We should not go that direction until we are sure that yes, we have done to the best of our knowledge, the best of our ability, that the people that we have in County A are 7,000 workers, for example, and we need all of them.
Okay.
And they are there physically. Because I can assure you, 1/3 of all these workers, whether it is at the county or at the national level, do not exist.
Okay.
Remember Arati, I think he took some vehicles to a stadium and he told every driver to stand next to his car. And there were so many excess drivers that did not know what exactly to do. But how he resolved it, I don't know. Because many people have been employed without systems. You know, they are not using systems. How would you explain 250 people that have been employed as advisors to this minister, to this minister? He has been a minister, I've been a minister. In every ministry, there are people who are well trained. It is you to reallocate yourself, some of those people in the ministry, so that they do the work. You don't have to bring somebody from Trans Nzoia or from West Pokot to come and do what officers have been doing in the ministry. Okay. You are creating a system that is going to be blocked up.
Okay. Mwanakisia, I'm looking at a report here, a news report from way back in 2010, around June, meaning we had not even promulgated the new constitution. And by then, I think you were the town clerk. And they're talking, this is an audit that was conducted by PwC back then. And they found that 4,215 ghost workers were currently in City Hall's payroll. This was in 2010, 14 years ago. It constituted 35% of the 12,000 employees, meaning more than a third were actually fake, did not exist. 14 years later, it would appear we've not been able to resolve this issue. In fact, it's only been made worse, especially in the advent of devolution. Do you think there's a way you can actually get down and actually ensure ghost workers are no longer existing?
And Fred, before he says this, ghost workers never retire and they don't die.
They're always there on the payroll.
They're always there in the payroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Fred, my colleagues have prosecuted the matter fairly well. It is true that that's why we call some of these things a vision. When I took over in 2009, I had 5 areas to look at to reform City Hall. So we call that package the institutional reforms of City Hall. So one of them was a comprehensive review of human resource. And as my good sister said, Mumbi, I can tell you in local government, nobody wanted to touch that area because they are all beneficiaries through these ghost workers, employing people who are not even employable. You know, like our good friend who's being sent to Goma as a consul general. You know, I'm not saying there's no space for such a person. There is definitely space for such a person. So the question is that does that person fit the job that he has been given? So we carried out that exercise, and I can tell you the things that we found other than a mismatch in numbers. We even found people with fake, you know, these fake certificates. This started yesterday. We actually found, like, there's a case I remember of this guy who, over the years, he had been given a job. He was even promoted with a degree from Nairobi University. Nairobi University. That university does not exist. The only one that exists that we know is the University of Nairobi.
Yeah.
But nobody bothered to check. So it means that, this was a gravy train for so many people. But we did what we did. I even went further because I was only there for 36 months. Sometimes people tell me that you're there for too long. No, 36 months, and we're able to do what we did. We even went further and said, okay, fine. The staff complement, as found out by Pricewaterhouse, and you know, I didn't just go for any, audit firm. I went for top notch, and I paid top dollar for that job to be done because I wanted a clean job. So other than a mismatch in numbers, that they said we were about 12,500, just about 13,000. We said the right complement was about 7,000. So it means that we had an excess of almost 7,000 people, okay? So what I did, because, I mean, the intention was not just to find out where the problem was. The intention was to sort out the problem. So by the time I was leaving office, I was actually now negotiating with World Bank to give us a grant, not a loan, because, to send off people back to the community better than you found them.
Ghost workers, we're talking about ghost workers.
No, you see, they were there. Mm-hmm. These are people who are there who have been working. I'm not talking about ghost workers. Ghost workers, the number is not very correct. I think there are about 1,000 who didn't exist. But I'm talking about people who are there but were doing nothing. Mm-hmm. There was no job for them. So they were there reporting, but there was no work. There was no productivity. So, of course, ghost workers, we immediately removed them from the payroll. We didn't need anybody's permission. I can tell you, I removed them immediately. That was done.
Because some other governments have said it's not really that easy to get rid of these ghost workers.
How? I did it. 14 years ago, I did it. I removed them. I didn't need anybody's permission. I removed them because I was not a beneficiary. And, these people who say you can't remove them, these are beneficiaries. They have gone there and they have seen the money that they can make. You can make that decision and get rid of these people. So we did that one, but you can imagine 14 years later, the ghost workers are back. Like my brother said, they don't die. They are back, and they're even in bigger numbers. Nobody is sorting out the problem. If the person who took over after me, and that was Evans Kidero, if he had consulted me and said, this is the match I've done, I'm now in the process of negotiating with the World Bank to get us money to send back these people to community. Better than
because Bonakirwa says that golden handshake way is not probably the best way to do
it is how it is done. Because sometimes you don't just give money, somebody money who has been working, who has not done business. You prepare that person. So preparation is part of the process. But let me say this. That is not important because it happened 14 years ago. It looks like people don't learn from past experiences. I would say that this conference we're having this week on the wage bill, for me, okay, it's okay. We can have conferences because people are going to make some money, which is fine. But what I'm expecting from this conference They are saying that the wage bill is high. In my view, yes or no? Maybe yes, maybe not, because it's a percentage of the revenue collected. So if you're saying the percentage is high, most probably the collections are poor. So the question should be how, because there's a correlation between the percentage and revenue collection. So what they should be talking about is how can we improve our revenue collection so that the percentage to wage bill comes down. That's number one. Number two, this budget making process, that was even improved by my president, Emeritus Mwai Kibaki, my president. He'd come up, we had really done a very beautiful budgeting making process that was participatory, and the president gave people in Treasury space to work. I think that this meeting they're having, wherever they're having the meeting, they should start by reviewing the budget. For example, how can you have, one office of the president that does not produce? It doesn't produce anything. It's about running up and down, going to Sugoi, going these places. It doesn't produce. Consuming 9% of budget. Those are the hard questions that this committee should be asking themselves. Somebody should look at President William Ruto, my good friend, in the eye and say, Mr. President, please have some good manners. Direct your people immediately to review a budget to maybe 5% of total budget. The other thing that can be done immediately, and it doesn't need a conference. I saw the other day the First Lady, who is spending money that shouldn't be spent, should be home taking care of the family. She had been allocated 450 million. She has asked for an adjustment to 594. The Second Lady is even worse. She's Second Lady. She had been given a budget of 293 million shillings. She's asking for, in the revised budget, 718 million shillings. Then the other day, in fact, I was having a conversation with somebody from this political party, UDA. And I said, the previous administration had admitted that this country loses 2 billion every day. 2 billion every day lost in corruption is 700 billion. But the guy told me, no, it has gone to 3 billion daily. So it means that the money we are losing through corruption is almost 1 trillion shillings. Is almost 1 trillion bob. So if my good friend and president had the guts, if he wanted to transform this nation, he should start by just immediately dealing with the issue of corruption. And forget about the 3 billion that is being stolen. They have now added 1 billion. They have admitted themselves. It's on record. He can actually reduce that corruption. Instead of 3, make it 2 billion. If he makes it 2 billion, we have 700 billion. 700 billion plus the other wastages that are there just between the First Lady, Second Lady, Office of the President. I can tell you, we have about 1.5 trillion. 1.5 trillion can actually now pay the medical doctors, the interns, all the public servants, and we pay our loans without borrowing. Okay. So I expect that the president is not doing this as a PR exercise. Okay. We want to see solutions, and they're there. Okay. They don't need any science.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, the National Wage Bill Conference begins today at the Bomas of Kenya for the next 3 days, discussing the bloated public sector wage bill. And the only hope is that it will actually be consequential. Time for us to take a break. I'll be back to discuss it.
this year's biggest agricultural event, introducing the second edition of Agri-Africa Expo and Conference with a timely theme: Invest and Accelerate Agriculture to Create Sustainable Wealth for Africa. The conference is the biggest platform to strengthen relationships between producers and consumers in the agriculture sector. The Expo and Conference brings together more than 200 exhibitors and 10,000 visitors, promising to be the biggest stage for interactions and knowledge exchange on the latest innovative agricultural technologies and ideas. Be part of Agri-Africa Expo and Conference and experience the transformative power of agriculture. Claim your spot today by registering as an exhibitor or a visitor. Visit www.agriexpo.africa or call Eve on 0790 888 333 or Ronald on 0726 374545.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
We did not talk about it much. Yes, I think we just did an editorial comment on it, but we did not really get to talk about it. The clamor to change the law also happened during the Kenyatta II era. And the question is, too young to retire? The renewed calls for President William Ruto to rule for more than 10 years, as spelled out in the Constitution, have reignited the politics of term limits in the country, with proponents arguing that 2 terms are not enough for a president to make meaningful change. But opponents say such reckless talk should not be entertained, and the Daily Nation has covered this story on pages 2 and 3. And yes, we do have on page 4 of the Daily Nation an image there of businessman Narendra Raval, who reignited this debate. And he says William Ruto loves this country and he should serve for 25 years. And on the same podium, Pokot South MP David Kosing said that he's ready to push for a change in the constitution to actualize the calls for removal of term limits. It's not the first time that we are seeing this. Sometime in 2022, immediately after William Ruto came to power, Fafi MP Salah Yakub said he expressed the same, and that he was proposing to Parliament to scrap the 2-term presidential term and even to set the age limit at 75. Now, this is a discussion that is on and off. And one may wonder, palipo na moshi hapakosi moto. When people keep talking about this once, twice, it could happen. We may see a proper attempt to actually change this. Yet it is not part of the discussions even at the NADCO level, where we felt it was a forum bringing together the whole country to discuss issues of national importance. Yet it would appear it is a discussion that many people want to have, Bwana Pogisio. Should we go that route? After all, the constitution does exist, but it exists to be changed as well. If Kenyans feel that they can amend it, it is their right.
Correct. And I'm not surprised that this is being done and being born in West Pokot. For the first time in West Pokot, we're having an investor who has put in a factory, a big factory actually, produces clinker. And he gets excited, so excited that he wants the president to stay for 25 years. And then David Kosing, who is the area MP, actually, again jumps in and makes it look like there was a discussion in West Pokot about it. There was no discussion. I mean, those are his own dreams and ideas. And I'm not actually... sometimes when the president is in your presence and you didn't prepare what to say, usually it's actually very, very likely that you will be coming up with things that you can't even you wait, we will wait and see if you can actually take a paper to the House and say, I want to change the Constitution. No, so that's the problem with young people who just get excited. My surprise actually is that the audience enjoyed that kind of thing. And the audience there was sitting people who were supposed to defend the Constitution of Kenya. And they have said nothing about it. Whether they are ministers or people who have sworn, and nobody makes a mention of it. There is no way one person can decide that they're going to change the Constitution just because they're excited for that one day. This is the Constitution of Kenya. It's a sacred document. It is very well protected. The Constitution of Kenya protects itself. Actually, even if you promise to defend and you don't defend it, the Constitution will defend itself. So we have a very good Constitution, and so I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about it. But what I worry about is these campaigns that are coming in early into the country. When the citizen is actually going through so much, and then you start doing politics so early, as though it's going to put bread on the table. I think the law should be made so that at least you don't campaign too early. There should be a time for campaigning. This issue of term limits being scrapped has been learnt or read about in the neighboring countries. And I guess when you visit too much in these neighboring countries, you might think it's a good thing, you see, because you've seen it work elsewhere. But not in Kenya. Not in Kenya. Kenya's democracy is stronger than that. Okay. And so I do not expect that we can copy, paste what happens elsewhere for Kenya. And I hope the president will stand up one day and tell these young men, that discussion should cease, and cease completely. I want to be there when you're talking about those kinds.
And that's a question, because the president was present there, and he had not taken to the podium. He did moments after. And one would have expected that he would address that as a person who swore to defend and protect the constitution of this country. That yes, you may feel the need to change it, but before you change it, I will protect this constitution. He went to the podium, he made no mention of it. That in itself could be taken as a tacit approval for that kind of discussion, that probably the president is entertaining the same.
Yes, he is entertaining. I know you need to look and use political languages. Look for the owner of the dog. Mm-hmm. Look for the owner of the dog. And tell the owner of the dog, lock it up. So by the fact that nobody talked about it, said no to it, then you know who feeds the dog, mm-hmm. and the owner of the dog. Mm-hmm. That's all I can say.
Borakiro, what's your take on this?
Well, one time I looked at President William Ruto when he was deputy president. And I realized he's somebody who seems to love power beyond his capacity, perhaps. I have a feeling that he will give very attractive recipe to Kenyans, that we want the president to be serving for only one term of 7 years. And therefore, Kenyans will fall for the trap and vote for that particular amendment. And he will give so many reasons, mm-hmm. that you need like 2 years in order to set up your systems. Then the other 5 years is to implement the systems that you have already set up, plus certain milestones expected for 5 years. Then you go home having done a clean job. And if we fall for that trap, it will remind us that in the history of this country, there was amendment of the Constitution. And upon that amendment of the Constitution, the person who had served for a number of terms said those terms were in the old Constitution.
And you would be eligible for
you will be eligible to run for one final term of 7 years. And therefore you'll have done 7 terms, perhaps 8 years shorter than what the investor is talking about. But also remember, in Africa, Fred, there are enough reasons for us to believe this is not far-fetched. Remember the situation in Rwanda. You remember the situation in Uganda, where the term limit was supposed to be, where there was supposed to be a cap of the age of the president. Then that cap was removed. In Kenya here, when there was suspicion that the late Tom Joseph Mboya was likely to take over through certain popular movement of young people, they capped the presidential term to be, for you to be president, you must be 35 years or above. So all these things happen in Africa, and Africa is a concoction of all the experiments that are done in the rest of the world. Some have failed, some have not even been done, they are done in Africa. So I'm not surprised, but I would have expected the president to be honorable enough to say, yes, I swore under this constitution to protect it. And therefore, anything that is going to be at variance with the current constitution, I'm not supporting it unless Kenyans will also be able to do that and amend the constitution for me to support the next constitution.
Okay.
So I would have expected that. But most important, in communication, I've been made to understand that 86% of the communication is on body language. As the MP, Posin, was making that statement, I could see the body language of the president was at best in tandem with that kind of arrangement.
He agreed.
Which tells me he was for it. You could have even prompted him to say this so that we check, because this is the second time it's happening during his 1.5 years.
Okay. And Borakisia, there are those who feel that genuinely 10 years for president is not enough who want to carry out the kind of plans they have. You said you served as town clerk for 36 months. I'm sure you would have wished for more time to do a lot more things. It is a debate that we should be having. Is it enough? Is 10 years enough for president?
You see, a country or a corporation is an entity that is ongoing, perpetuity, okay? So it doesn't matter whether you're there for 1 month, 10 years, 100 years. But I think the biggest, so if it is there in perpetuity, you should just know that you are there for the time being. That the time that you are given to do something and make a difference. I come from the school of thought that what you cannot do in 2 terms, in whatever job you are given, as a CEO, you are given 2 terms. If you can't deliver whatever you want to deliver in 2 terms, even if you are given 10, you will not make a difference. So in Kenya, under Article 142, the term limit has been set. It is 1 term of 5 years, maximum of 2. And President William Ruto should count himself extremely lucky human being that at a very tender age as an assistant minister, he has been a minister, deputy president, and now president. He should count himself very lucky. Let him not stretch his imagination beyond what he has in his mind, okay? Let him know that there are other people who can come after him and provide the necessary leadership that he's currently providing, or even better. Let me say this, because President Ruto was part of KANU. If Kenyans were able to repeal Section 2A, it will not be difficult for Kenyans to remove him by force or by fire from office if he ever imagines that he can entertain extension of term limits. And as my brother said, Brother Kirwa said, you know, when these things are being said, and instead of coming up as the head of state and firmly making it very clear that you are there for 1 term, and if Kenyans then decide that they will add him another 1 term, he'll do 1 term and go home. He is sought to protect the Constitution. He is now part of the people who want to defile Section 142. He is part of that group. And he needs to be warned that that is an extremely bad dream. Kenyans already fed up and tired of him. In fact, Kenyans who would prefer that he goes to Sugoi tomorrow. So he should be praying, those prayer warriors in State House should be praying for him that Kenyans have mercy on him so that he's allowed to provide the leadership until 2027. Actually, Kenyans want him out yesterday. So why is he imagining that he can go even beyond 2032? It's a bad dream, and we should completely disapprove such thoughts.
There are those who say that as president, there's a lot of time that is spent on just laying down the structures for one's administration, especially the first 2-3 years. As it is right now, the president is still trying to make appointments for diplomatic jobs, make appointments to senior positions in government. It actually takes a lot of time to just settle down into government. And we saw some sense of urgency towards the end of President Uhuru Kenyatta's term, him trying to open up so many things, carry out a lot of projects. There are those who argue that probably an extra term or some few more years would be necessary for a president.
So what really is our disability? I ask you, what is our disability? Because the President of the United States has only 4 years.
But it would be argued that probably they have better structures there, I don't know.
I mean, is that our disability? Yeah. This country sat many months and set out a vision for this country called Vision 2030. The structures of this country since independence, how long does it take for us to set up structures? I mean, we have advantage. When America became independent, they didn't have the technology that we have today. They didn't have anything. But they set those structures many years ago. And so every 4 years, a president comes. And they're not guaranteed 2 terms. They always can do just 1 term, and that's 4 years. Go to Britain, same thing. So, I mean, we can't be ourselves, telling ourselves, oh, we are slow, we cannot set our priorities, we are Africans. What are we trying to tell ourselves? What really are we trying to tell ourselves? So if you want, and you have a chance to be 2-term president, which is 10 years, that is a long time to be in government. And in this country, if we really maintained our public service the way it's meant to be, there should be no reason for a president to come and start anything that is not known or designed or planned, because we plan very well. Kenya is very known for planning and for documents that are very useful. We bring them out very well. So I do not believe that we should be going that route, or even entertaining the fact that I need 2 years to relax to do what? 2 years to do what? And the president doesn't do that work. I mean, we have a workforce in this country that's so well trained, that's so qualified. The only problem is we come and disrupt that all the time. And so if we were to allow this to continue, if we were to strengthen our work for our public service as it's supposed to be, it will be easy for a president to come in, do his 5 years, implement what is already set in the system. Even if he wants to introduce something new in Parliament, whatever it is, we have. So I do not want to entertain. It took Kenyans such a painful process to arrive at that 10 years, to arrive at the 5 years. Very, because if you open that window, and you know we've done it in the past, it's going to be one person is going to be here forever. And what's going to happen is that person is going to use whatever means to remain in power. And that is not good for this country.
There are those who argue that, and you've mentioned the examples of Rwanda and Uganda, that extended term limits probably served those countries well, given the kind of history they had. That if at all there were to be changes too soon into Paul Kagame's presidency, probably it would not augur well for Rwanda, even for President Museveni, if at all there was any attempt to change him too soon. Is there any positive thing that can come from such for Kenya?
Before I get into that, let me tell you something, because some experiences we have from the neighborhood, the other countries surrounding us, sometimes may not filter as a good example from Kenya. Without naming the country or countries, let me tell you, Fred, our civil service is top-notch. So professional. The documents that they do for this country and that are stored at the University of Nairobi are used in other partner states. And one of the jobs of the ambassadors from this country, from those countries, is to come and shop for a particular document that was done by a Kenyan professor at the university or a senior civil servant, and they get them and deliver those particular individuals to the presidents of that country. And they are taken up as senior advisors at presidential level, and they are Kenyans. I can give examples of people who've been in those other countries and have also been given diplomatic passports of those countries, and they report to the president directly. And they are Kenyans, they've been our colleagues, even our honorable members of parliament, went to those countries and did a commendable job. So our issue is not lack of professionalism at the civil service. We have good people, top-notch professionals, if they are allowed to do their work in an environment that we have not messed up with the kind of politics we do in this country. Okay. Because those are the people now who would be advising the president, don't touch the term limit. People sat over a period of time, and this is the way to go about it. But our nature of politics, does it allow the professionals to do that kind of thing? It doesn't. That is the correct position. You have an advisor on security, on international relations. They can only talk. And the advice to the person who is being advised, we leave it at that. You know the answer.
And because I'm looking at my clock and it's really
Sorry.
So I'll allow you to make your final comments as well as you're done with this.
Fred, I still have hope for this country. And I believe deep inside myself that the best for this country is yet to come. And it is going to happen in our lifetime. How and when we will need a crop of people with conviction that we don't have another country to go to. We must get the best here. It's a painful process, but if we care, the like minds, it doesn't matter how few we are still going to make it. Thank you very much.
Bwana Kirwa, final comments.
Yes, Fred, let me just summarize the thoughts of my colleagues, because it is very clear that we need to have institutions that are stronger than individuals, because those institutions shall have institutional memory and shall have capacity to transit from one leader to the other. Otherwise, the situation that we put ourselves in is that we've created a situation where the current president is vilifying all that was done by the previous president. And that is not a good tradition to set. We must, when you are given a job, do it, and do it well, and don't mention the name of the former president. Kibaki was able to respect Moi, despite the fact that Moi demoted from the vice president to minister for health. Why doesn't the current president respect the fact that he got 47% of votes from Mount Kenya region? Is because it is Uhuru who introduced him there, and when he got there, he should change to Uhuru, and vilified him and made him look like he's not a person to be respected in Kenya. Thank God Uhuru is coming back.
Thank you, colleagues and Fred. I just want to probably go off tangent and request that, that this country prays for the president, genuinely, that this country prays for the First Lady, very genuinely, because some of the pronouncements that are made in the last few days, actually border on mockery. It's, they're treating Kenyans like small little children. On 16th of December 2023, just a few months ago, the president said that he does not control world crude oil prices. Okay? The same president, and this is where doublespeak comes in, on 13th December, took credit for the reduction, you know, the little deduction that he has given Kenyans. He talked of about 10 bob. Then when they were announced, it was 5 bob off petrol and 10 shillings off oil. He took credit. That's doublespeak. And for somebody who's holding an office of the president should not be double-speaking, should be truthful. And then, you know, often on Sunday, I think it was yesterday, I was wondering whether I was watching a movie, okay? The First Lady then even attempted to even mock God. She said, it is because of the prayers, those prayer warriors, and maybe that's why they want the budget increased. Those prayer warriors in State House, they have been praying, and they prayed so hard until the dollar came down from 165 to now about 128, 27, 128, because of those warrior prayers. Then she even went further and said, there was drought, but we prayed so hard, the warriors were praying, until now rain has come. Then I asked myself, Fred, if these warriors and the First Lady can pray so hard, why can they pray so hard for the president to reform and start managing this country properly? Please, Kenyans, pray for the First Family. They genuinely need prayers, because I can see either they have been confused by the too much power that they have around them, and they are completely lost, or there's something terribly wrong in that family. Because you can't be making such statements. I mean, I can tell you, and I say this with a lot of respect, because I don't want my great-grandfather, Daudi Lungao, to descend from heaven, because he is in heaven. He's the one who started the Quaker church in Kenya. I don't want to descend and ask me, my grandson, why are you talking this about God? But I am a firm believer, and that's why I'm asking Kenyans to genuinely pray for President Ruto and Mama Rachel. They need prayers, deep prayers, genuine.
Finally, Bwana Pogisio.
Well, let me commend Philip Kisia to the conference. I think he would make a very good contribution if he went to this conference. But I actually experienced yesterday Nairobi as a city become one big river. You couldn't drive a small car if you were driving yesterday, because the whole city became one big river. And I don't know what is going to happen if the rains continue. But I don't know whether anything is being done about it. This is not the first time we've seen roads become rivers, including our expressway. And so the people were concerned, and I don't know whether it was ever planned, Mr. Kisia here, to do our drainage system in this country, or to build a better system in this country. But I was very concerned yesterday that people slept on the roads, and this is the city of Nairobi. So this adds to the problems that we have as Kenyans. The fakeness of things in this country now extend even to our roads and our leadership and things like that. So I really want to say, apart from the praying for a specific person, I think we need to pray for the leadership of this country generally, but particularly the people who are in charge of the city of Nairobi and our roads.
Thank you so much, Samuel Pogisio, former Cabinet Minister for ICT, Philip Kisia, former Town Clerk, Nairobi, Kipruto Rapkirwa, former Agriculture Minister, and Honorable Dr. Mumbingaru, former MP, East Africa Legislative Assembly. Our power panel every Monday, this and every Monday. So if you're looking forward to this discussion again, they'll be here next Monday as well. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your contributions to the state of the nation. Now, as the nation embarks on the 3-day National Wage Bill Conference, which starts today, convened by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC, there's a pressing call to shift from rhetoric to substantial reform. Right now, it seems like we have too many government employees compared to how much work gets done. Data from the International Labour Organization shows that Kenya ranks really low, 153rd out of 189 countries when it comes to productivity in the workplace. Even though we spend over 1 trillion shillings annually on government salaries, productivity is still very low. Skewed resource allocation towards inflated salaries and allowances compounded by outdated payroll systems and excessive PACs only add to the fiscal strain. The Auditor General and Controller of Budget have consistently flagged these issues, stressing the need for prompt corrective measures. It is concerning that the private sector, which has a leaner workforce, is showing notable growth and efficiency, but the public sector is lagging behind due to bureaucracy and inefficiency. Government employees apparently make 40% higher average wages than private sector workers. Now, given rising costs and dwindling resources, we urgently need to change our approach. While ideas like job cuts and salary reductions may cause worry, keeping things the same isn't sustainable. The government's commitment to serious radical and surgical reform must translate to real actions focused on efficiency, accountability, and responsible financial management. As discussions continue on this important topic, policymakers must develop a comprehensive roadmap addressing the root causes of the bloated wage bill. The goal of slashing public spending on wages to 35% of tax revenues by 2029 is a commendable aim. However, reaching this target won't come from wishful thinking alone. It demands bold, calculated moves backed by practical foresight. It is time to roll up our sleeves and make it happen. And that is a TV47 editorial comment this morning.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hii.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hii.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus niko niwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus niko niwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
right, a very good morning to you and welcome. This is Morning Cafe News, Tolly Stanley Nyuringita. So the Global Bleeding Disorders Community will this Wednesday come together to mark the World Hemophilia Day, with the international theme this year being equitable access for all, recognizing all bleeding disorders. So today we're having a curtain raiser conversation on this topic to help raise awareness on a genetic, or rather a disorder that the Kenya Hemophilia Association says 1 in 10,000 people in the country suffer from. And to help us have this conversation, two Allans, Alan Were, who's a general practitioner from the Kenya Health Association. He'll also be breaking these numbers down for us, as well as Alan Maina Masharia, yes, from who is hemophilic, yes. And even as we continue this conversation, there's always, is it hemophilia or hemophilia? Both of you will be telling me on a light note, which one is it? Is it H-A-E or H-E? I see both variations still work. But anyway, I'll start with you, Dr. You can introduce yourself further before we begin this conversation, and then you could also introduce yourself, Dr.
Thank you, Stanley. So as you have said, my name is Alan Were, and I work with Kenya Hemophilia Association, KHA. Yes, glad to be part of the show this morning. Thank you.
Right.
My name is Alan Maina, a member of Kenya Hemophilia Association. I'm also a patient, and through the Kenya Hemophilia Association, they've assisted me a lot in terms of the hemophilia condition. Yeah.
For how long now?
I would say it's more than 10 years now. Yes.
All right. Najaribu kupiga hesabu ya miaka in my mind nione, but you'll be telling us when you diagnosed and all that journey. But before that, we can definitely have a background just to understand what this conversation is. Someone watching us this morning may have seen this word somewhere, and they probably know it might mean something about blood, but they don't really know the whole bit of it. Elaborate for us, what is hemophilia?
Thank you, Stanley. So hemophilia, as probably from the word itself, it has a Greek origin. Philia in itself means love. So hemo means blood. So hemo or hymo probably depends whether you're using the United States or British English. So philia, as we said, love, and hemo blood is just an abnormal love of blood to bleed. So it's a hereditary problem where people or patients have bleeding disorders, and they continually just lose blood without having any clotting mechanisms in the blood. So medically speaking, or probably clinically speaking, I would say hemophilia is as a consequence of deficiency in certain factors in blood. We have 3 types of hemophilia. We have hemophilia A, hemophilia B. We also have hemophilia C. So hemophilia A is as a result of a deficiency or lack of factor 8 in blood. Hemophilia B as a result of patients lacking factor 9 in blood. And hemophilia C, which is very rare, so patients have lack of factor 11. And these factors, I know you probably would be asking what they are. We normally have the blood components that help in the formation of blood clots. Primarily, the cells in charge of clotting are called platelets. So before we have the cascade process, before our blood clots, whenever we have injuries or we have any problem, then the blood has to undergo different mechanisms. And in a summary, I would say the blood clotting pathway has like 3 major factors. We have the classical pathway, which has the internal and the external modalities, and then we have the common pathway. So the lack of factors is majorly affecting the internal classical pathway, where the lack of these factors that activate the clotting factors, which then lead to the formation of thrombin and fibrinogen, which are just proteins that form the meshwork in blood whenever we are injured, then we are not able to form them. So as a consequence, patients, when they get injured, they have the love of blood to bleed, as opposed to the reverse, where blood is supposed to form clots. I don't know if I answered that right, but what I want you to take home is this is an inherited disorder. So
at all times it's inherited?
Yes, it is not essentially at all times, but 99.something%. We also have acquired hemophilia, which is very rare.
The sporadic one.
Sporadic hemophilia, which results from patients on very heavy treatment and chemotherapy, and we alter their genetic mutations in the factor 9 and factor 8. And I would say that hemophilia is a disease that affects people generally like in equal measure or in equal proportion across the world. First described in the European world, it was actually referred to as the disease of the kings because it first affected Queen Victoria's line where one of her sons was undergoing circumcision and they actually bled to death.
Wow.
So that's why hemophilia got its awareness probably from then, and today we're also bringing this awareness home right here in Kenya.
And you talk about matters of awareness. Having the World Hemophilia Day since 1989, so this means, well, it's been a whole journey, even in the country. Yes. Speaking of journey, Maina, tell us your journey.
So, hemophilia, I was diagnosed in 2008 when I was circumcised. That's when I got circumcised in Murang'a General Hospital. One of the nurses recognized that the bleeding is too much and this patient must be having hemophilia. He suggested it to the surgeon. The surgeon was quite reluctant, but he ordered several platelets, I believe, Dr. Several platelets that...
Why was he hesitant, maybe?
He was hesitant because he considered it to be a very rare condition. The sister continued insisting that the test to be done for hemophilia to be diagnosed. And upon sample being taken to lab, I was diagnosed with hemophilia A. And through the Kenya Hemophilia Association, she was a part of the group. She suggested my name. The health team was there to help. And through them, the bleeding was resolved. And since then, I've been working closely with them and also been involved much in the activities because they have been so helpful to me. Because despite the circumcision, there are so many other areas that I've been having bleeds and I've been able to acquire treatment through them. Yes.
So before 2008, had you ever, because, okay, at what age maybe were you that time?
I remember back in 2005, 2006 there, I had a bleed on the abdomen here, an internal bleed.
All right.
I went to Kenyatta Hospital. I was admitted, had surgery, but my parents, because I remember very well, my dad told me that when they went there, they thought it's a tumor, but unfortunately it was a bleed inside. They removed a very huge clot, but the bleeding still persisted. But by God's grace, it was able to resolve by itself, but I still felt there is much that needed to be done, despite having that.
So apart from that, the 205 having the internal bleeding, there isn't, let's say, the bruising, because at this age, you're young, you're really playful. Kama ni kucheza, that's why you really want to show how strong you are. If you're playing football, na maboys pale or some very rowdy kind of games, yes, that mnarushiana mawe just for the fun of it. There wasn't, let's say, sort of an external kind of bleeding that you really had to see. Before now 2008?
I've had several cuts.
Okay.
Several. And let me tell you, it was a very difficult time at that particular time. Because having a simple cut, it would take a very long time.
Roughly how long?
Even hours, 6 to 8 hours for it to resolve.
6 to 8 hours?
6 to 8 hours, imagine.
Ile unafunga bado?
Unafunga, but you see the bandage is still stained with blood. It would take a very, very long time for it to clot or even to stop bleeding. Yes.
So that means, Doki, if there isn't, because you always find one of those kind of young kids who rarely get bruised. The very, labda ni ile discipline amepatia. Wewe nipate umejichafua something. So they'll probably train themselves that way. So even before this young kid gets bruised, there isn't any kind of external signs that you'll see that will show you this person might be hemophilic without them actually bleeding.
There could be, because hemophilia, either if it's A or B, we have 3 classes again. We have mild hemophilia, we have moderate hemophilia, we also have severe hemophilia. So the mild and the moderate, we tend to not really have a lot of external manifestations in the earlier stages until probably late. My namesake Alan here, for instance, is moderate hemophilia. So for him, we were able to diagnose him at circumcision, which he would tell you was at like 2008. Patients who present with severe hemophilia, I swear, at birth, you will know. Why? Okay. Because children in their initial stages in life, they tend to shed teeth. These are children when they lose any of their tooth, they bleed extensively and they have to seek medical attention. These are people who, when they're playing and probably someone hits them, they would begin to have nosebleeds, and you would see the nosebleeds would not have an end maybe. Or probably at a very early stage, we do immunize babies at birth. So when you're giving the intramuscular injections, or probably the IV injections, intravenous injections, you're able to see the bleeding is taking longer than normal. You know, for normal patients, you know, you just get in with the needle and then that's it. But for severe hemophilia, immediately you do that, it's more of a death, toll you're leading these people. So you really have to know from the onset. That's why we're doing this awareness to all clinicians and patients and parents alike, that when you find someone bleeding extensively, probably from unknown reasons, and it's prolonging or taking longer than normal, then we need to know. And one of the things Alan mentioned that probably I also need to highlight is the possibility of having internal bleeds, you know, because bleeding is not essentially meant to be manifested on the external body. Yeah. So one of the problems we have with hemophilia patients is some of them might have internal bleeds, and we've lost a number of patients in that regard because someone has an intracerebral bleed in the brain, you don't know. Someone has an abdominal bleed, you don't know. And you treat them for a myriad of things that you probably do not understand until you subject them to tests and specialized care, then you realize these are hemophilia patients.
Does it manifest the same for young boys and young girls, or is it for one gender? How does it go?
So hemophilia is a little bit biased, which could be a good news or a bad news based on which gender you are. But it's more catastrophic for the males. It's a male problem. And why a male problem? It's because of the pattern in which it's inherited. And I would give a very quick summary here. So hemophilia, in its inheritance, we have the sex chromosomes. We call them the XY for the males. That is what codes for the male gender. And we have XX, which codes for the female gender, I think. We were taught this way early. Most of us are familiar with this. So what happens is hemophilia is an X-linked autosomal recessive disorder. So to mean it only attacks the X chromosome.
Okay.
So I would maybe elaborate it in a layman's term to explain it in this sense. X-linked means it is passed from the parents to the children, or probably in a generational manner. So your great-grandfather could be having it, and then it affects one of the children or grandchildren down the line. So what it means is if a father is hemophilic, then the daughters would be carriers of the disease. If a father is hemophilic to mean he only has one X, so the other Y is paired. And the mother is normal to mean all the XX are normal. So the boys will inherit very normal X chromosomes, because boys get the X chromosomes from their mothers, okay? And they get the Y from the fathers. So what it means is if the mother is free, then the boys are free. And if the father is hemophilic, the girls would be carriers. Carriers because a carrier is someone who has one trait of the gene coded in one of the X chromosomes. So if a mother has two X chromosomes and a girl, probably one of the daughters down the line, has two X. So they get one infected X from the father. One X is free. So this lady is caught free. So that's why it's affecting the males, in the sense that these ladies, they may manifest features of hemophilia. For instance, they may have prolonged menstruation days, which normally should take 3 to 4 days. For them, it goes more than 7 days. And if a mother is a carrier to mean one of the X chromosomes is affected, and the father is free, this mother has a chance that one of their sons would be hemophilic.
So this means even for the mother, or even let's say even for the daughter, it won't manifest the same way. Let's say that Maina had amejikata na kisu, ile bahati mbaya, and then there's a prolonged...
No, for ladies, no. For ladies, unlikely. Probably the first point of place we probably tend to know that this is a carrier is when they become of age and they begin having their periods, and then you can actually notice that, you know, this patient could be having 1 or 2 problems. So most of the times how they present, they go to the gynecologist, and then they're probably treated for other things like fibroids, which is long-term. I mean, treatment can only but have an end. And if it doesn't resolve, then the gynecologist would probably refer them to hematologists, and then we're able to know. But in terms of its transmission, it's purely male. The females who may be having hemophilia probably have acquired it through spontaneous means, or like acquired means. Acquired means to mean like if a child is born with a disease, for instance, like the Turner's syndrome, it means they have a defect in one of their genes, and that means this person could probably be having more problems apart from hemophilia. And then to acquired in the sense, we could subject patients to a lot of chemotherapy or radiotherapy to the point that we eat into the bone marrow cells, and as a consequence, we may actually have sporadic mutations in their genes. So as a consequence, they may have acquired hemophilia. In Kenya, I think we've only interacted with 1 female hemophilia patient. But out of our 960 patients, I can tell you all of them are males.
I love the fact that you brought up the 960, and it's mind-blowing to even say that you have interacted with 1 female hemophilic. That's just mind-blowing. But then the fact that you say, so about 960 as of now, according to the Kenya Health Association. So even as we come to that, so for you, have you back tracing even in your family lineage? Because it says, well, it's mostly hereditary. Fewer times it's really sporadic where there's no family history on the same. For you, how far does it trace back maybe?
Yes, traces back to my uncle. My uncle passed away, my late uncle. He passed away a couple of years ago. I can't remember the year, but he had the same condition because he had internal bleeds on the legs, but he suffered an internal bleed that cost his life. I also have an aunt who has a son. He's also a member of the Hemophilia Association. He has hemophilia also, and he's actually doing very, very well in terms of management of the condition. And also, I think my sisters, I also sensitize with them because you see this thing is genetical. And what the doctor has explained about the X chromosome, I tell them not to worry when they have sons or daughters, that this condition, where we are at this point in life, it's manageable. But I trace it back. It's far away to my grandmother. Since she's the carrier, she had the X chromosome, passed it on to the daughters. Okay, the daughters have me as the son. Okay, he had a son, so the son was diagnosed with hemophilia, but he was not well aware about the condition, so it cost his life. They were not aware about the condition. It is through me and the Hemophilia Association, through the facilities that we have, that I was able to be diagnosed in 2008. Since then, there have been follow-up and all those things that have been happening. Yes.
Right. So now, because for you, it's from one generation, from your grandma to the next generation, of your mom and aunties, and now to you.
Yes.
And now you also have the fear that even for the next generation coming, this might also progress. So Doki, because I mean for KHA, Kenya Hemophilia Association says 1 in about 10,000. Quick maths, you need kitu kama, let's say 4,000 thereabout. Yes. 4,000 Kenyans, 4,000, 4,500 hapo katikati. You can also tell us maybe how average that is. Have hemophilia in the country. Is this number maybe too low? How did it, and how did the association come to this number? Because for this family tree, there has been a progression from the carrier to the next generation. This is like a whole 3 generations where it has progressed. So there's so many other family trees out here that there's a possibility that from one carrier to the next, is there a possibility that this number will actually have even exceeded, even past the 4,000?
That's very true, Stanley, and I actually appreciate this awareness session you have this morning, probably to create awareness and have a way to go around this. First, I would really want to appreciate Kenya Hemophilia Association since its inception in 1979. And one of the things maybe we should have discussed in this show is, what is Kenya Hemophilia Association and what do they do? So Kenya Hemophilia Association targets to raise awareness and to also offer support systems to patients and their families who suffer from hemophilia. And one of the things they do is to partner with these people who call traditional circumcisers or traditional healers. I wouldn't want to malign them because they really help us a lot. I'll give an instance of what happens in Western Province, where in the Bukusu community every month we have, or in the Kalenjin community, we have these traditional circumcision processes. They have really partnered with them so that during this period of time when the circumcision process is going on, we're able to know how many, let me say, casualties we have from the process. And also, like right now, I'm glad we are on holidays. We have children out here. We do organize circumcision programs at least once a year at the Kenyatta National Hospital and Moi Referral Hospital. So we are able to do the circumcision with specialized surgeons who are able to handle the matter. So Kenya Hemophilia Association has collaborated with the World Federation of Hemophilia as one of its national member states. And its primary role, as I said, is to support patients. And I'll give you how this works. Hemophilia in itself is a very expensive disease. It's a disease meant for the rich. That's why I said it's the king's disease. King's disease to mean as late as, or as early as 2014, our patients had to be referred to South Africa for treatment or to get factors. Until Kenya Hemophilia Association came in, and what we do is we have applied for funding from the World Federation of Hemophilia. So we receive factor concentrates every year that are able to support patients free of charge. So right as we speak, we have like 11 clinics distributed across the country, and every year we are passionate about creating more clinics to create awareness for people to know about this. I mean, we only have 960 patients right now, with a majority being in the central region. We are estimating that we could be having more than 4,000 patients.
Why the central region?
The central region has more hemophilia patients because that's where the awareness has really taken root, and they have benefited much more.
So there's a possibility of it even being more in the western and, let's say, the Rift Valley, parts that you haven't yet reached with matters awareness, but then due to, let's say, the lack of awareness on these areas, you might not really know that there's actually a huge on matters hemophilia.
That's very true. And what people perceive hemophilia to be, I would be very honest. Some communities perceive patients with bleeding disorders to be like a curse. You know, like the woman in the Bible who had bleeding issue for like 12 years. You know, people actually thought of her being a castaway. So in the same network today, we have people thinking that hemophilia is maybe a curse. So people don't want to come out in the open and actually tell you that, you know, Stanley, my son has a problem, he's been bleeding for long. Or like for the ladies, if one is a carrier and they have prolonged bleeding, they're perceived as castaways from the society. So the Central Region has benefited much because Kenya Hemophilia Association being rooted in Nairobi, we've been able to cover most of the regions and families in Central Kenya. And right now we have regions across the country. And Kenya Hemophilia Association is structured such that we have clinicians, where I do participate in. We also have patients. Alan is one of the beneficiaries. And lastly, we have parents to patients. So we offer them more of a group therapy and support network all through we as a family. So this show today is majorly meant to enlighten the country that, you know, this is a problem that we have and we have to deal with it. We approximate we have more than 4,000 patients. It could be more than that. But right now we only have 960. So where are these all other 3,000 patients?
So you're reaching out.
A good question, which the viewer should also be part of. In case you've, because so far the Daktari Maina have really enlightened you on what this really means. So you're out there and you're saying, hey, probably I've been bleeding for more than 2 hours. Maybe this is what is happening to me. 0795 045 864 is the number to call in live. Ask all those questions that you have. Share in your opinions, your thoughts on this conversation. At TV47KE, that is on Facebook. You can also text us real quick. Number 2047 is our SMS number. So even as we continue, allow me to take a look at just some numbers to help us continue this conversation. Some of these numbers, we've already mentioned them. Some will also be key as you continue. So first off, so this is data by Kenya Hemophilia Association, which dates back a couple of years. Meant to believe that, well, some of these numbers have, changed over the years. So first off, we do have at least 5,000 Kenyans who suffer from hemophilia in Kenya. And Dr. Riwera was talking about all that. So far, 960, this is the number of people in the program, the Kenya Hemophilia Association, as well as about 80% of people living with hemophilia reside in low and middle income countries. I'm curious why that is as well. So listen to this. So, there are 14 number of hospitals countrywide that have hemophilia care clinics. Probably too low. We'll be getting to know all that. The hemophilia sickle cell care centers in the county referral centers, about 12, that is according to the Kenya Hemophilia Association. We'll also be getting to know are there so far, because last year we did see Bungoma as well as Kitui care clinics being opened. How many care clinics are set to be opened? That is on what the numbers are looking like, on the same. Now for you, Maina. Since you recognized 2008. Yes. 2008. So after circumcision, how old were you at that time? Just for context of this.
I was 11 years old. 11. Yes.
So okay, so at 11 you're probably saying grade 5, ama? Talk 11 afako grade 5 at this time. Okay, because I remember in 11 it was like class 5 apo. So at this age, do you even understand when they're telling you, Maina, uko na condition inaitwa hemophilia? Do you even understand what maybe your parents, what the doc is telling you this time? And since at age 11, how do you manage yourself? Is it nile you're too careful? Hata ile kwenda kucheza, mwambia Maina kama tucheze ball. Mwambia mimi mama alisema nikicheza ball nitaumia na nitaanza kubleed sana. How was the management as a young child from 11 into getting into adulthood and then now later on?
Okay, so having gone through a lot of bleeding episodes, you begin to learn that the more you have bleeds, the more at risk you are. So you have to be cautious in everything that you do, in every activity that you engage in. So if for me, I loved playing football a lot. I used to play the midfield. I used to be a midfielder.
Number 10 ama nini?
Nilikuwa nacheza 8 ama 10.
Okay.
So when you learn and experience these bleedings, you have to start adapting to it and know how to manage it and how to go with it. Because if you are reluctant about it, one, I'm in school.
So this is day school?
Yes, I was in day school. But for high school, I went to a boarding school because I was now aware of what is happening. But along the way in primary school, because of now, before circumcision, I was having several bleeds. One of them is nose bleeding. I remember in class 8, one early morning while going to school, I was traveling from Sagana. We lived in Kirinyaga County. From Sagana, I schooled in Murang'a County, here Murang'a Technology Primary School.
Right.
So together with my sister, we boarded a matatu, reached to Murang'a. While going to the entrance of the gate of the school, I started having nose bleeding early morning. And it was quite bad. I had a handkerchief, got soaked. I couldn't use it anymore.
All right.
Removed my sweater.
Right. Could I ask you to pause that story?
Yes.
So that we pick this call. Yes. I'm being informed, is it Brian Maina? Brian Maina, habari asubuhi?
Nzuri sana.
Unatupigia simu ukiwa wapi?
Nakupigia simu nikiwa Lang'ata.
Rudia tena, sijapata hiyo.
Lang'ata.
Oh, Lang'ata. Oh, Lang'ata. Watu sawa. Watu wa Lang'ata wanaendeleaje? Kama unaweza mute simu sauti ya TV ndio endelee kuongea na sisi, throw in all those questions.
Sawa, watu wa Lang'ata wako sawa.
Endelea.
Si tuko sawa tu kulia huku kwa Sonaso. Unajua mimi ni kijana.
Okay.
Mimi nilikuwa nauliza tu hiyo kuna split. Mimi wana nose bleed. So nilikuwa nauliza hiyo kuna split ni hiyo hemophilia ama hiyo ni ugonjwa mwingine tofauti.
Una nose bleed for how long?
Sema tu wana nose bleed. Sema ni for how long, but wana nose bleed. So hiyo ni hemophilia ama ni tofauti?
After how often labda?
Sema for 15 minutes hivi.
Okay, so let's say for example 15 minutes kama ni asubuhi, itakuwa hiyo siku pekee iishe ama ni mara ngapi kwa let's say kwa siku, kwa wiki?
Sema tu hiyo siku, kama ni hiyo siku kianza itakuwa for a while after na iaje.
Sawa. Salimia watu wa Lang'ata, wacha tupate daktari akujibu hiyo, alafu tuendelee.
Mimi nasalimia watu wote wabezi wote.
Sawa.
Sawa, watu wote wagoteke nyokolox ndani.
Sawa. Asante sana for being locked in.
Sana.
Right. Thank you very much. You can always call in live. 0795045864 is the number to call in live. Our numbers are open. As tuambia, in case you've been listening to this, you've been having quite the lengthy bleeding. And umekatwa kidogo, there's a huge bleeding. Or you probably know someone who is there. Call us live for the questions and feedback on the same. Daktari, can I get your quick feedback on the same for him so that umjibu, then we can continue the Maina's journey?
The question was on why he has prolonged nosebleeds for more than 15 minutes. That's exactly why I'm here this morning.
Okay.
So those are our candidates. We honestly need them to come. The good news is we have made this treatment free for everyone by virtue that this is a donor-funded program. So we invite people like Bran and more to come. We have free consultation services and drugs for free. Problem with excessive bleeding that we also need to point out, apart from death from excessive bleeding, we also have patients presenting with joint deformities. So, I mean, like we have a lot of patients who they have bled so much in the joints and the joints have stayed in that position for life. We can't revert that.
So that means it's weak for them?
Not weak, it is deformed. So joint stiffness, so like let me say, someone bled to the point the hand stayed in this position, and that's the position it's going to stay. Or maybe we have, if it's in the knee joint, then the position in which the patient put the knee during the bleed, it stays in what we call joint stiffness.
Right. You had mentioned about matters, the drugs and the free and the cost of it. So we'll get to that. I want, so Maina, just finishing it up on, so you're telling us that bit of the nose bleeding, getting into class, getting around class 8. But then, so even as you continue, so I'm curious now getting into also in high school, were people around you, your classmates who are, okay, ni classmates, bado mjafika kama classmates, but your classmates, people around you, even the teachers, do they understand that nani Maina ufai usidhubutu hizi mchezo za kumpiga manini, anaweza anza kubleed sana? Do they understand all that also?
No, most of them did not understand the condition, or even know. Some of them, if you mention hemophilia, would say, what is that? You had to explain to them that it's a bleeding disorder. Bleeding disorder in terms, if I get a cut, I bleed for long. If I nosebleed or have a trauma, I would bleed for long. So the reason why back then people are not aware is because people were not well informed about the condition. So I was actually motivated to actually be part of the motivation program of the Kenya Hemophilia Association all through. And I would say having this awareness is very beneficial for not only the nation and also the whole world. To be aware that if you have a son out there, if you have someone who has been having prolonged bleeding, it's good that you speak out, reach out to us, reach out to our Kenya Hemophilia Association, go to the hospital facility that you have, and you can also get us through our social media handles that will help, that will be able to reach you very easily.
Right.
Because through them, I've been able to reach where I am right now.
How much have you used for the cost of treatment? Since 2011 when you were diagnosed, roughly, how much do you think was used?
In terms of factor, since I joined the Kenya Hemophilia Association, I've used nil.
Nil?
Yes.
Duki, how much, because, okay, so this is a quote of someone who, a mother whose child was diagnosed with hemophilia. She says, so according to the doctor telling her that the son has a condition that means he should never be hit, and that it has no cure, and whatever management is there is beyond your reach and you can't afford it. This, when you're telling even a mother this, when the son has been diagnosed, and you tell her that this condition you cannot really manage it because you can't really afford it. I mean, this coming from a doctor who doesn't really understand. I mean, it's the same kama ule wa Maina mwenye maybe was hesitant because it's rare. Like, hapana, hata kama iko, you can't really manage it. Why the cost of treatment being high? You're telling us it's the disease for the kings.
For the kings, because you really have to spend out of your pocket, which then becomes a problem, because in like Kenya, where it's a disease that affects mostly the low and middle income regions, it's very catastrophic. One, I would say this, how we manage, I think your question is indirectly asking how we manage hemophilia.
And also what really puts it to being that high? That high,
yes. All right. So one, in the traditional conventional way, we used to manage hemophilia by giving cryoprecipitate, fresh frozen plasma, which are derivatives of blood components, and we replenish the platelets that patients lost during the bleeding episodes. And that's why part of the things we need to emphasize in this show this morning is to motivate people to be blood donors. Because in the absence of factors, the first thing we do give patients are these products of blood donations, from blood components that we have in our different blood banks in the country. So what meant is we would need very high numbers.
But a hemophilic can't really be a donor now. As much as kama Maina, a donor.
No.
As much as he'd want to.
People with diseases cannot be donors. If you go to a blood donation center today and you say you have HIV, you have tuberculosis, or probably you're on some medication, you'll just be ruled out.
Okay, right.
So we have a lot of young, healthy people in our country today, and we need to call them up to be blood donors, active blood. And they can do that once in every 3 months or 4 months, at least in the year. So what it meant by giving these patients products of blood components, it meant then we had to really look for extreme amounts, or maybe so many people to come in and donate blood, which sometimes never really works out well. So Kenya Hemophilia Association, when it was set up, initially we used to send patients to South Africa where they could get the factor concentrates. And the factor concentrates here, I talked about them in the initial stages of my process of talking here. And I said, you know, you were to be given factor 8 if you had hemophilia A and factor 9 for hemophilia B. Averagely, the cost of treatment was extremely high based on what kind of hemophilia you had. So someone like Alan, probably at the end of every month, he needs to replenish his factors. And suddenly that meant one vial or maybe one concentrate of his factor.
For factor 8 for him?
Yes, it's around 75,000 an injection, which meant, for him, we could, because we calculate the dose according to his weight. So, I mean, Alan, you can just see he's healthy, so he's probably pulling more weight than the two of us. So it meant for him, he probably needs like 4 injections in a month. And 4 men.
So each week, so 75 times 4.
Yes.
1 month.
So we do give that at the end of the month, and then if he needs some to go home with, we instruct them on how to use it. We give them more of like another, let me say, some level of factors to also go home with. So it means someone like Alan meant he needed close to more than 300,000 every month for treatment, which, I mean, it's not really affordable for our people in the country today. So what Kenya Hemophilia Association has done is it's received donor funding. So we are able to meet patients at that point, and we give them all these concentrates for free. So when they come in and someone is bleeding heavily, you inject the factor. Surprisingly or miraculously, the bleeding stops immediately.
Okay, so according to now from KHA, you do receive funding from the world. Right, so before that, let's go to Thika. Eric, habari asubuhi?
Mzuri sana.
Asante sana for calling us this morning. Uko na swali, uko na maoni unataka kutupatia?
Ni swali.
Yes, uliza tafadhali.
Mi kuna time jua ikiwaka sana wana nosebleed. Ama nikiosha uso nini na baridi na nosebleed.
For how long?
Inakujanga inaweza tulia for 1 year afu inarudi the other year.
No, okay, swali yangu ni ikianza, tuseme ianze saa asubuhi, saa 2 asubuhi. Saa 2 asubuhi itaenda for how long?
Kama 30 minutes hivi.
Ilianza
damu iklot.
Ilianza ukiwa mdogo ama after umeanza kuwa mkubwa?
Ilianza nikiwa class 8.
Okay.
Niko na kama miaka 10 hivi.
Ukienda hosi labda ushaenda hosi juu ya hiyo ama na ukienda daktari anakuambia nini?
Kuna siku nilidungwa tu vitamin K, shina vitamin K story ya kuclot ikaacha ikarudi sasa after another 3 years.
Right. So asante sana Eric, wacha daktari akupatie jibu sahihi tu. So thank you for calling. Remember, you can call in live 0795045864 is the number to call in live. I'm pretty sure there will be quite a number of callers, and it's gonna like 6 minutes to wrap it up. I'll definitely also be getting your last thoughts, just answering him on the nosebleeds. And this is the second caller, just asking the same. And well, for both callers, you can definitely say they are, let's say, 20 and above. Ni watu wame kula chumvi hii dunia. And even as he says, well, it started way back. So that means even matters diagnosis, there isn't the kind of early diagnosis. You could probably answer him.
Thank you, Eric, for the call. Eric could be, I'm not saying he is, he could be one of our mild hemophilic patients who their symptoms really do not get exaggerated. He can live with it. But I mean, bleeding for 30 minutes is really a lot. It shouldn't be the case. And he said he's been given things like
vitamin
K, which are more or less, let me say, supplements. So again, not everyone with bleeding disorders are hemophilic. That introduces me to the question of the bleeding disorders we have, which Stanley, there are a range. We have Glanzmann disease, we have DIC, we have ITP, idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura, and the list continues on.
And interestingly, the theme for this year is just recognizing them all.
Including sickle cell, we do kind of collaboratively support, and that's why if you come to a hemophilia center, we are not really interested in hemophilia alone. We try to figure out all the other spectrum of bleeding disorders and find out. So probably Eric, if vitamin K works for him, he could be having deficiency in vitamin K. But I mean, why has that gone on for like all the years? So he needs to be curious why, you know? And I can call upon him to also come in our centers. Thika, I think, has one of the centers. Or maybe KNH, Kenyatta National Hospital. I'm sure we will really take good care of him. And why I'm saying specialized is because in these centers we have very specialized machines. We call them coagulation maybe machines that we are able to run them through and find out that, you know, you're missing this particular element in blood. And again, for treatment, vitamin K supplements are one of the things we give to patients with supplement disorders. Also to note that, you know, tranexamic acid is one of the antifibrinolytics that we give, but not for patients with hematuria, like when, you know, someone goes out to urinate and then blood comes out of their urine. We have those kind of limitations. So Eric is one of our candidates that we need to see in the hemophilia specialized centers and find out really what they're suffering from.
Yeah. Real quick, before I get your last thoughts, maybe in a minute or less, just an advice on matters diet, because this is one thing that Kenyans would really want to know. Maybe if they suspect that the child is, the young boy is a hemophilic, or they've actually been told, so what happens now in matters diet? Do they focus on diets that have, you know, add all this, add in increased blood, and also, you know, the amount of water and liquids that they take in maybe 30 seconds or less, or a minute?
Sure. Let me say this in general. Once we have the factors, Stanley, a hemophilic patient can live an absolutely normal life, like every other Kenyan. They can play football, they can eat anything they want, they can, you know, come to these TV shows like Alan, they can use the public transport, they can get accidents and we can manage them. So it's not a limiting factor to do anything. As long as they can afford a balanced diet, well and good. But I mean, we have diets that boost our blood components or stores, the green vegetables and fruits.
Right. So even as, I can take that as your last thoughts as an advice, where can someone reach, because I'm pretty sure there's so many questions around here on the same, where can, you know, someone maybe reach the KHA for all this?
So we have a website, Kenya Hemophilia Association. Just Google that in on your smartphone or your browser, you'll be able to find and just
for everything. Maida, even as, you know, you also give us your closing remarks and advice maybe?
So for me, I would urge every parent, every person who is having a bleed, like the callers that we have had, that reach out to the KHA. KHA have assisted a lot of people, many boys, many girls out there, me being one of them. By God's grace, I'm a nurse also.
Oh, right.
Yes, I'm a nurse. And through their mentorship, through their programs, through the factors that they give me, I've been able to study and actually be where I am right now. So I'm grateful. So
you're yet training ama bado ndio na?
Nishamaliza, I'm actually working.
Oh, right. So it's two medical professionals in this who are not striking today, on a light note. Thank you very much, Alan Wera, General Practitioner from the Kenya Hemophilia Association, as well as Alan Maina Sharia. He's hemophilic as well as a nurse.
Yes.
Asanteni sana for having this conversation. Reach out to Kenya Hemophilia Association. Just type it there. They have a number there, they have an email, all those contact details. You can reach out and ask them all those questions that you have. Coming up, you've been in the house, uliacha cylinder yako on, your gas cylinder, and umerudi baadaye, and you smell a very funny smell, and you're wondering, how do I, in case of fire, or actually you've experienced fire due to the whole gas cylinder. In today's segment on Monday, discussing first aid, we give you the tips on how to avert all that matters gas cylinders. Stick around for that.
safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue.
Prevent the cat from drying out.
In a world where barriers seem overwhelming, there are those who defy expectations and go beyond the limit. Join us for an inspiring journey as we shine a spotlight on the extraordinary stories of courage, resilience, and triumph. Prepare to be inspired, moved, and uplifted.
And you speak so well. What do you want to be when you grow up? Tell me, a journalist. No. What?
I want to be a musician and a teacher.
You have a neighbor, a friend, somebody who you know has a child with Down syndrome. Get to know that person, you know, talk to them, get to know the child, because it's a way of you creating awareness for yourself and understanding these are children like your children.
Beyond the Limit, every Saturday at 8 p.m.
To your #1 weekend entertainment show. This is, of course, Beach Floods.
safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Right, a very good morning to you. I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyeringita, and it's a beautiful, marvelous Monday morning right here just out of the studio. And Juna tucharaza vipropa sana. And I do have with me Jose Njiri, first aid safety practitioner. Utakuna tuambia more about yourself, all the way from Africa Fire Mission. And I'm wearing a very heavy clad. He was advising me that it's quite heavy, and he's wearing about 20 plus kg on him, plus his weight. Who are you, Njiri? And there's just so much around us. Tell us everything that you're looking at here.
Thanks, Stano, for inviting me to this studio. It's really, I'm grateful for being here. It's a privilege. So right here, what you're seeing, first,
yes,
my name is Jose.
Jose.
Yes, I had you say Jose.
But tumezoea.
Jose Njoke Emwe Goji. I'm a fire safety officer working with the Africa Fire Mission. And our main duty is to train, encourage the firefighter. And then also we train the community on how to avert fire and prevent fire. That's actually my main job.
Right. Yes. How frequent do fires happen, even in Nairobi region itself?
Whoa, that's a good question. Not less than 6. Actually, 6 is a slow day, but thereabouts 6, going upward. 6 going, yes. Wow. Yes. And out of the 6, let's say on that slow day, out of the 6, what's the most common type of fire that happens? The common type of fire is gas cylinder fires.
Gas cylinder. Yeah, mtu alisahau kuzima.
Either mtu alisahau kuzima, either wametumia the not original regulators. Okay. This type of regulators.
All right.
You might find worn out pipes, which you're going to demonstrate actually physically on hapa tutaasha moto. Today we are going to go live on everything. Live fire.
Yes. So. All right. So in case you're just joining us right now, we're doing matters first aid as we do every single Monday from around 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. just advising you on matters first aid. And today we're discussing how to solve hii maneno fire. He tells us that on a slow day, they just put out and extinguish about 6 fires in a day. And a huge number of that, about 80-90%, is gas cylinders. You do have a gas cylinder at home, and he's just explaining to us that probably the regulator ilikuwa mbaya, probably ulisahau kuzima, haukuweka hadi mwisho hiyo knob, haukufikisha hadi mwisho when you're probably cooking in the morning, the breakfast, ukirudi baadaye, and then you probably, maybe you're lighting a cigarette, lighting a matchstick, moto ikafanyika. And this really means that it is a conversation that we really need to have. So back at home, wherever you're watching us from, uko kwa ofisi, call in live. 0795 045 864 is the number to call us live. Ask all those questions that you have. You can also text us. 22047 is your SMS number. Also engage with us on our Facebook platform at TV47KE on Facebook. Nishaanza kusikia joto na hii. Leo ni ile siku jua ilisema itawaka proper.
Imagine I have this for 6 hours sometimes.
6 hours. Oh yes, and also director tells me it's ni mzuri sana niambia watu whatever is just in front of us. Yes, so there's definitely a fire extinguisher. How kg ngapi?
In is 5 kgs.
5 kg, okay.
5 kg of cylinder. I'll talk more about it.
Oh yes.
In is 6 kilo of gas.
Gas ile tumezoea. Oh yes.
This is a smoke detector. And then of course this is a fire blanket.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And yeah. These are tools that I'm going to use.
Ndio pia wajue ini for real. Yes.
Woo.
Yes, it definitely. Oh. I think the fact that I'm hot, it has detected I'm smoky. Yes, and another one here. There's also some water.
Yes.
You'll be telling us about that. Oh yes, and also a knob. So one of the most interesting bits about even having a very good knob about it, lazima ikue ukifunga unasikia yes in ile. And I think I'm one of those people who even just tightly having the knob, you'd even have a dry cloth and make sure it tightens kabisa. And then also to make sure that everything is okay. Nawasha the light, kama ni matchbox, and then I just have it on top of it to ensure that there's no...
I'll show you a better way of that. Thanks Stan for mentioning that. Junaweza washa hivi, ibaki tunajua kwenye ni wapi.
For real?
Yeah, so...
Oh, there can be a whole blow up on me.
So...
Hata kama nilifunga yote?
Hata kama ulifunga, there's a way actually, and that's what is behind you. Ebu leta yako hii hapa hivyo.
Okay.
E-liquid, just normal liquid that we have in our homes. How do you test for leakages? Instead of kutumia hiyo
process yote,
kiberiti, just use this, and I'll show you how. Stay tuned.
The common liquid detergent that we do find.
Ya kuosha nguo. Ya kufanya nini? Ya kufanya kama hapa hivi watu wanatengenezaga nyumbani. Just normal ya kuosha vyombo.
Okay. Oh yes, definitely. In case you're just joining us, this is a conversation that you're having. He says about like a day they solve and extinguish about 6 fires. So that means about 5 of these 6 fires are due to gas cylinders. That means that there is a huge chance. If you, let's say, live in Nairobi metropolitan area, there's a huge possibility to tumia gas cylinder. So there's a huge possibility that you might have had such an incident, a near incident, or bado haija kufikia, but there are things that you're doing wrong. He tells me that hii kitu ya kuweka knob hadi mwisho and then just lighting the matchbox around hapo, it might come to blow me up, for real. So you're explaining to us this.
I was explaining to you this. So it's one of the ways of how to test for gas leaks. Yeah, umepatiwa, you bought your gas
cylinder, yes,
from an authorized dealer. I repeat, authorized dealer. Si kwa hizi mapanya. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's my shortcut.
Umestack your gas cylinders mpaka hapa. Alafu namwambia umepata authorization from this particular person to sell the gas. Nasema no. Don't buy from them. Go to and
it's a question we rarely ask. Nilete gas ni 1100 ndio nimelipa letter.
You have so much trust, but ikilipuka ukienda kwa ule utasema nawe ni nani bro? Bro, hiyo biashara tulimalizana. But if you buy from an authorized dealer, a petrol station, my friend, kama ina leak urudishe. You're good to go, man.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So you want for me to test right now?
Oh yes, and I can help you. I can help you now. So I can let me see what I usually do. Yes. Then you let
for
me.
Example,
you'll tell me if I'm always wrong.
Yeah. Let's see. Then I don't know if you can be able to see. There's a normal regulator.
And just have the normal regulator. Let me remove my hapa.
Sasa nimetoka kutoka kwa shika hii.
Wacha nirudishe hiyo chini.
Shika hiyo normal regulator, original regulator, hata hiyo unaweza ika chini.
Wacha niweke hii chini. Sawa. And then now you can have probably for the viewer to have a closer look at this. So this is a point that I'm supposed to kuwasha moto.
Sasa hii umenunua kutoka kwa
okay, so
petrol station. Before you put it in, unachukua tu hiyo
unachukua you look for the detergent
unaweka kwa bottle, a used bottle, alafu unamwaga hapa, hapo kidogo tu, just like two hapa katikati.
2 drops.
Na hapo katikati ni wapi? Kwa valve. Kwa valve area. And then you put your eyes hapa hivi katikati.
All right.
The easiest way to tell if it is leaking is what? Take a guess. When it is having bubbles.
Oh.
When it's bubbling,
that means
utasema oops, ikitu ina leak.
Okay.
No.
Why the detergent? Na maji hizi.
Maji pia ni poa. But you see, because of the lather. Hii hapa hivi hii povu. What's povu in English? Lather.
The foam.
The foam,
yes.
The foam has already formed. Hiyo ikianza kububble, you'll actually tell. It will actually even kind of like bubble it up. Kama it is a very slow leak. Unaona sasa imeform kibubble. Hapa hii kitu
ina leak.
So you'll actually go to an authorized petrol station, the ones who distribute this. And if they don't have there are some other gas dealers who don't have petrol stations. You call the dealer and they will come and check it for you.
Right.
In fact, they will replace it. Why? You have a receipt. So make sure always you have a receipt so that you can be able to get a replacement.
All right.
Yeah, that's the most simplest way of looking. Another way of knowing that it is leaking is actually the smell. By the way,
yes.
Let me give you a trick question. Does gas have smell?
It does.
I know we do not have this conversation. Does gas have smell?
It does.
Are you sure?
There's a funny smell that you'd hear. Uliacha the knob, on, and then you hapana.
Naturally, gas is actually a byproduct of petrol. So it's a natural gas. Haina harufu.
Okay.
Yo ka smell unasikia inaitwa makaptan. Yeah. This is an additive. It has been added by the manufacturer because our human senses
cannot detect the smell.
It cannot detect the smell.
Makaptan. I've learned that today.
Yes.
Okay.
So that makaptan smells like rotten eggs. Yani hata kama uko na COVID, my friend.
Utakupata atakuwa kumelala.
Utasikia harufu ya makaptan. So there is it smells like rotten eggs. Others smell like rotten cabbages. Yeah. All those rotten things.
Right.
So
you have that
smell. After that, you take nilete ile towel iko hapo chini. Sorry, I'm actually giving you some.
No, I'm your assistant here.
Yeah. So you take a towel.
I'm running quickly to what you.
Yes. And then unatoa hiyo maji.
Okay.
Remember, it was just 2 drops.
Yes.
Yeah. Si ati mingi. Ala sasa you come and there's a way of actually knobbing this thing. Watu wengine wanaishika wapi? Hapo. Therefore, ukishika hapa, guess what will happen? Utang'oa. Utabaki na 2 items. Utabaki na hii na ubaki na hii. Unaona? So this is the regulator.
Sorry. All right.
Sorry.
Can hold this for you.
Me.
So allow
this
me
is the regulator.
So allow me to stand on this position.
Sawa.
As a so this is a regulator. So
just hold this one. The 2 parts.
All right.
This is the regulator.
Okay.
And this is the burner.
The burner. Okay.
So this is the complete one. Put them down.
Okay.
So ikikuwa complete inakuanga iko hivi. So sasa zile unai connect hapo, unaishikilia tu the burner on top with one of your hands.
Right.
Alafu hii unazungusha.
So this will be this is clockwise.
Clockwise.
Yes, clockwise.
Clockwise. It's okay. Just umesikia kwa sauti? That is actually the ball valve that has pressed. The regulator has pressed the ball valve so that it can remove the gas itself. Umesikia kwa harufu? Hiyo ni nini? Hiyo ni tumeland.
Makaptan.
Good job. You're a very fast learner.
Makaptan.
So after there, hakuna haja kutest ati sijui na vile uko kuna kumbuka vile unasema. Again, you take your
liquid detergent.
Yes.
So this is just testing if because I had bought the gas cylinder elsewhere. And probably my burner imezeeka kwa nyumba kama
hii hapa. Cheki kama hii. Imetumika mpaka
ilipikiwa chai kamwagika, maziwa kamwagika, everything.
Exactly.
And you rarely clean it.
Exactly.
How do you now test for the burner now?
So how do you test for the burner?
Yes.
Unakuja hapa, unaona hapa hivi chini.
Yes.
Umwaga hapa hivi.
Hapa.
Just splash it like that, around it. Hii cargo kama ina leak, this valve it is leaking, what will happen?
See, you have to see bubbles.
Thank you. You're a very fast learner. You'll see bubbles. And that's the only way of actually testing it so far. Yeah, for this one. That's when now you come and light it up.
Usianze mchezo ya kuwashawasha hapa juu. Okay.
Relax. There's a firefighter in the house and kukiumana, I have backup.
So I'm looking for the matchbox yenye tulikuwa nayo.
Thank you. Voila. Imetokelezea from nowhere.
Backup.
Yeah. Sasa hebu washa vile unaashaga. Usirila washa tu. Umefika kutoka job.
Good.
There you go. Imeaka. Iko seti. Yeah. So, notice haifai kutoa hii orange color. Yeah.
Inafaa
kuwa blue.
Blue, yeah.
Inafaa kuwa blue. I've actually messed up with my regulator. Yeah. So in the instance
ndio sasa tulan.
Tuanze kulan. Okay. So this is just for
so kwa nyumba nikiona hii
iko quite good. It's actually natural gas. It's actually clean burning. Ukiona sufuria yako ina turn black, when you see your saucepan turning black, your regulator is faulty. So tusha test tumeona hailiki.
Yes.
Ukiona inawaka hivi orange, ina bana yako iko mbovu.
So what's the problem here?
So the problem is you need to change your
regulator. So the whole of it.
The whole of it. Now usinunue unauthorized dealers. Go to petrol stations.
Right.
Go to authorized dealers.
Okay.
Those are the guys that are going to help you.
Right.
So you just come and switch it off. Notice, hiyo moto ilikuwa inatokelezea hapa chini.
Oh yes.
Hiyo moto was coming out from down here. I'd messed up with this specifically for that, so that you can actually get to see how it's supposed to go. Now, there's a way that, for example, this thing is faulty. Hii kitu imebaki imengoka. Yeah? So, acha tufungue. Hapa hivi tunacheza kalongo. By the way, did you ever play kalongo?
Hey, been chaba mama. Hey, some good times.
So,
good times.
Of course, you connect it. Ebu connect it for me, brother.
Hii ya juu.
Connect. Kimeumana. Yani, hiyo side ingine. Sorry, mazena kumix. Hizo jo.
Clockwise.
Yeah. That was for opening this.
So, ilazima.
Hata utaji hata ikwe sijui utumie manguvu.
Kisha click.
You just come, take up your detergent. Ile iko na foam. And then you just test it around. Like that.
Sawa.
Hii hapa hivi bro, ina bubble? No, iko seti. You just come, pick up your towel. Oh, by the way, a gas is it has a class. It has a class of fire. It's actually class C type of fire. So when you're extinguishing fire, you need to know what extinguishing agent you need to use. A fire extinguisher is not just a fire extinguisher for your information. So for this particular type of fire extinguisher, you use dry powder, which has a blue band on it, or a carbon dioxide extinguisher. Aya. Sasa nataka kuonesha. This gets interesting.
Ini leo nafaa.
Hiyo sasa sasa hii yako by mistake imengoka. Sasa tuna assume imengoka. All of a sudden we go like, oops. What do I do? Stano is panicked.
Oh yes.
Do I throw it outside? What do I do? Do I go?
Oh yes, and I was actually now getting to that.
Okay.
So because tumeelewa hii and so someone by mbaya alikuwa niacha tu open ama alikuwa na default bana. Alafu akaiwasha. Alikuwa anataka kupika kagitheri kake nini na ugali vizuri akawasha and then a huge flame ikatokea.
Yes.
So what happens?
How do you do it?
Yes, so
huge flame imetoka Hii imeng'oka.
Yes.
Imeanguka chini. Hey, ulikuwa kuna watch TV 47. All of a sudden ukakam. What do I do? This is the flame that you're going to see.
Okay.
I would rather, because of the effort I'm going to use much later on, I want to place this, if you allow me.
I can help you to have it somewhere here.
Yeah, ekelea tu hapa.
Yeah.
So,
then unasema mimi nikae at a distance.
Hapa hata ni sawa, relax tu. Itawaka hivyo. Hey, what will I do? Utadu? What will you do?
Na uweze karibia kizime.
Umepanic, kitabu ishalipuka, boo. Imechapa ceiling. What will you do? Tell me. Bisho. Unaona hata umeshindwa, si ndio?
Baka to what you do.
So if you have an extinguisher in your home, which hardly people have, I recommend people have at least a 2 kg extinguisher in your home.
Okay.
So kama hauna usipanic. Uko na towel keza? You have a towel. You take and dip it in water.
The water.
And then watch me. Unaona pale nimeweka vidole zangu?
Okay. So mwisho.
Huku mwisho. Yeah, usifanye hivi, usiweke hivi.
Usiweke, so iweke.
Iweke hivi.
Okay.
Umeona? Alafu una come una fold. You fold the fire. You start left over right or right over left. This is how you do it. And then you press there, and then you come and close it.
Oh yeah. So at this point, allow me to also even advise the viewers who are watching this. So don't do this. Don't attempt to do this.
Don't try this at home, please.
And don't try this at home. So okay, so again, the viewers, even as you're taking a short break, remember you can be part of this conversation. 0795045864 is the number to call in live. You're taking a short break. When we come back, we continue this. Don't go too far.
Super fantastic.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus niko niwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking.
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Right, karibu sana. This is Morning Cafe, and it's about that time that we continue with matters first aid, and we're giving you first aid safety on in case of a fire incident at home. What do you do? And in case this fire incident emanates from the gas cylinder, you probably have a gas cylinder right now. You're probably actually cooking breakfast as you watch us this morning. So what happens in case you have a faulty burner, in case you have a faulty gas cylinder, ulinunua some funny place, and then later on, you realize that burner imevunjika and then there's a huge flame. We were having that before the break, so in case you're just joining us, do have here Jose, yes, yep, from Africa Fire Mission. Yes. So before the break, we had a huge fire, and then there's a whole, actually, some few seconds before you actually extinguished it, I was like, hey, will this work? I was honestly like that. I laughed on a voo. So before the break, we're also, advising people, don't do this at home, and you say don't do this at home. But then if I'm at home alone, what do I do?
So if you're home alone, okay, the disclaimer was not to try it if there is, kama hakuna moto.
Ile for practice too.
For practice, ati kuangalia kama I'm perfect, don't do that.
Okay.
But if there is danger, if you're at home alone and the regulator has separated from the burner, that's when to do it. I'll show you two ways of actually doing it. Okay. Number one way is what? With a towel.
With a wet towel.
It's a normal towel. Ile unatumianga kupanguza mwili after ukitoka kwa bafu.
Or probably duster. Ni duster ukunatumia.
I'm a duster, but it has to be quite
huge. Yes.
But please remember to shield your hands. Sawa ndio usibani.
Okay.
Aya, number two. Water. I asked Stanley what he needs to do if akipatikana na hii shida. Most people use water as
so unamwagilia maji hapo.
Now I want to demonstrate to you guys why water is not a good extinguishing agent.
Okay.
I want us to light up this thing. Usijali, I'm here. Don't worry. Washa nare.
Haya.
Inizale ime disconnect. Sawa, ime disconnect. And unathink ati moto he will be extinguished with water. Watch this. This is just an experiment.
Okay.
And watch me. I'm actually wearing a glove. So please don't try this at home. Utaban. You will burn. Yeah. So just watch.
So it won't.
It won't. Watch again. So water does not extinguish gas cylinder fires. Nani get?
Yes.
Na check it. Yeah. So I'll switch it off. So tutaizima aje.
Oh, bado ija.
Hii ni kwa sababu
ile gas kidogo imebaki.
You just take inaitwaje? A cloth, a wet towel.
Kama iko nyuma yako?
Iko nyuma yangu. You just hold it. Ama niongeze nare? Hebu ongeza nare. Watu waoni.
Ongeza for the views of it.
Relaxed. I'm here. I have remedies. Good. Oh, pole mazini. Pole.
Iko fresh.
You just take that.
So in case all right, so kuzima.
Alafu unaeka kidole yako hapa hivi.
Hautachomeka?
Hawezi ban. Ama
for real?
Hawezi ban.
With the whole heat.
Zingine unaweza weka kidole yako hapa tu katikati. Inazima. Sawa.
Hey, okay.
Yeah. Kama uko confident, you can just come and
just take a wet.
Here's the science behind it. Ebu weka nare, washa nare.
I'm tempted to try all that on behalf of the millions of Kenyans watching us this morning.
Kama kwa kamera inaonekana.
I'm pretty sure, yes.
Stan, check pali, see where the fire is starting.
Oh, mahali hapa juu.
Yeah.
So, okay.
That's where the trick is. You just put your finger hapo hivyo katika.
So all this is the gas?
Yeah, this is the gas because it is pressurized.
Okay.
Yeah. Unaweka tu mate. Alafu una.
Hey.
So, and then you switch it off. Yeah.
Okay. So
Ushaomba, by the way. Just kidding. That
That
was a bad joke.
I think after this off air, I'll now try.
Yeah.
Staki nijaribu on air and all that.
Third way, wacha nikuonesha the third way ya kutumia hii bucket.
Okay.
Allow me to I can pour it somewhere here.
Right, so even as you continue.
Nimerudi.
Okay.
I'm back. Haya. So, iko wapi ile bana ingine?
Ndio hiyo. So clockwise ingie, nikuwashie ama tutafute?
Super, thank you. Misbehave. Usipanic. Unakumbuka vile tulifanya ile
unaiweka hivyo, unafunika.
Remembering your whatever. Left, I mean right, left. Right over left or
right
left over right.
Okay.
And then you press. Hauna hiyo. Iko karibu. Ndio iko karibu.
Ndo
iko karibu. What do you do? Just take a door that is the size of that gas
of the gas cylinder.
And then you slap it on top and then you suffocate the fire.
Haitachoma.
Because it's just very little oxygen that is there.
Oh.
Remember fire, there are three components that make a fire.
Yeah.
There is oxygen, heat and fuel.
Okay.
We call it the fire triangle.
Okay, yeah. So below the oxygen,
this fire, we actually need to suffocate the
oxygen.
The oxygen.
Wow.
Yeah. So how do you suffocate the oxygen? Kila mtu iko na bucket mtaani. Ndio?
Yeah.
And by the way, this is what we teach in Mathare, Mukuru, Kawangware, everywhere else. Yeah. So you just come from a distance. What you need to understand son.
Yeah.
Saluna izima. Mlango yako lazima ikuwe wapi?
Mbele yako.
Nyuma.
Nyuma yako. Oh, yeah. Nyuma. Why?
Ikiumana. Ikikata. You scatter.
Usianze kukimbilia juu ya gas
ikienda. By the way, as you extinguish it, call the fire brigade number.
So immediately kama saa hii may happen, so I call the brigade number as I try to minimize.
Services already paid for by you, the taxes.
Yeah.
The government has already sorted, but we don't know. So what do? You just call Nairobi number. It is 020 22 181.
A quick one, even as you continue before tufunike. The aeration of the room. Do you have to run and start opening the doors and everything, the windows and everything?
If you have that correct mindset, if you're calm, if you're collected, you can do that. But over there, first of all, remember, ishachapa ceiling.
Alafu possibility ya palimoto iko, kuna vitu inaweza kuna choma juu.
Ukianza kuchoma spikes zako ambao above umeko. So by you thinking and maybe labda nini? Unaitwa nani? Window. Iko hapo iko mbele. Yeah. So
haya, wacha tuone practically.
You just come very confidently, mlango nyuma ya mgongo wangu, alafu na kama unaiwekelea tu mara moja.
Usianze trial and error ati.
Hakuna ati kuishi. Unameshua tu uko tu yani confident. Even though you're scared. Yeah. So this is how you do. You're going to do it. You count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Notice. Imezimika. Good.
Nasikia makapatan kwa.
Thank you. Ni chop.
Ndio.
Yo makapatan.
Makapatan nasikia kwa yes. I can feel it. Manufacturer
to help the human mind to actually identify manze gas in.
So far you've shown us 3?
Yes.
Kidole? Oh yes.
Hiyo ni kama unatumia
the pipe, yes.
Lakini ya kidole unatumia na nini?
For wet.
Nitwaje na towel.
Yes.
I'd advise to use the towel.
A wet one.
Wet one is okay. Yeah, because it takes time for it to burn.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and if you're confident enough with like me, because hiyo story ya moto, I'm not Superman by the way. Hiyo moto imewaka. By the way, fireman, si ndio tunaogopa nare zaidi.
Uongo.
Haki. It's just that we've been told the science of fire. We've been taught how to read smoke. Tunaonaga hii moto ni ya black. Hapo ni noma.
Wow.
So we actually do all that stuff.
Right, so back to, so far in case, someone is joining us and they're wondering what we are doing, just trying to see how, to extinguish fire emanating from a gas cylinder. So for me, tuonyesha quite a number of, tricks, even before, or rather in the process of kupigia fire brigade. Yeah. So next step?
Next step is actually just getting to know the causes of a liquid petroleum gas white leaks.
The LPG.
The LPG. Number one can be, what we've said is
some faulty
regulator.
The faulty
Please
regulator.
Buy your regulators, complete regulators like this from petrol stations or from authorized dealers or from the dealers who don't have petrol stations. Tafadhalini tununue wapi? Kwa authorized dealers. It is a little bit costly for your information.
Okay.
It is costly. It's not cheap.
All right.
Yeah, but hey, utachomeka. How much worth are you? You are so much worth. Hata tuwezi count. Yeah. Number two, missing or damaged O-ring. That O-ring is actually hapa hivi katikati tukifungua. There's an O-ring there. If it misses, ni kablada tu.
Oh, inakuga muhimu hivyo.
Hey, that is life and death. Number three, if your this hose tube here, it is damaged.
How do you know? Do you have to have regular checkups? Kujua it's damaged. Okay.
By the way, for your information, let me just put you on the line. I know you already have a gas cooker and you have this gas pipe. When is the last time you checked this pipe?
Kwa pipe mimi wa bedsitter.
Kama PRA atakuja kwa kijana leo.
Kwa pipe mimi wa bedsitter sijafika hapa. Sisi ni wale tunatumia hii
wale mnasaidiwa na Yesu.
Oh yes. So regular checkups is
regular checkups
needed.
I've messed up with my
pipe
because I use this for my
for training and all that.
Yeah. So you need to check for cracks. What are you checking for? Cracks. Check for burns. Unaona kama hapa hivi I burnt it.
Oh yes.
Uangalie inafaa kutolewa out of service.
So for example, because hapo ulituonyesha ikikaa vizuri unakafunika. Ama unakafunika vizuri. Na kama ilikuwa kame crack hapa,
no problem.
Alafu imeanza kutokea from here.
No problem.
It's still the same.
Still the same. You can use your finger or na towel ukaekelea hapo. It will not burn you.
Are there any other variations of how to put off fire yenye inatoka from the hose pipe instead of just having those two kufunika mtu?
Yes,
maybe
you can also go to your
not as courageous as possible.
Exactly. I agree. That's why I showed you this as several options.
Yeah.
But I usually don't recommend this. I usually recommend that you use something that will not burn your fingers. Okay? Don't use something that will cover your fingers. You've just seen me using a glove and I'm a firefighter. I'm not metal. Yeah. So what are the ways that you can do?
So how about, because now I'm trying to think, the kind of things that someone might be doing in this scenario.
Yeah.
So ilikuwa na hiyo moto kubwa and then they try to pull out your pipe. So that means if you pull out, that means the huge.
Exactly. Huge fire imetokelezea
so
pale.
Hapa hivi. So now you're dealing with this one and not the pipe.
Exactly. That's where now you come and use your bucket.
So you're penny quick thinking yenye naweza tumia.
Yes.
Okay.
And did you know, bro? You need to be if you have a family, they need to actually have what you call an acronym called EDITH. Exit drills in the home. At least once in 3 months. Wakitoka hivi chuo
unafanyisha drills.
Unaambia guys,
unaanzisha moto mtachanganya. Ile too light here. Oh, okay.
Unasema tu moto lakini hakuna real fire.
Kuna real.
And then like here in your place that can see fire everywhere. You just go and tell your children, hey, we're going to go to Kim's house. Yeah? Kim's house number is C22. You go to Kim's house and we are going to meet there.
Oh, as a drill, okay.
That's part of the drill. Ndio kikiumana. Just the other day, did you know that about 5 days ago, I was called by my friend that the sister-in-law's house was on fire? Yani, mtu anaishi kwa hao ya mawe hapa hivi Makadara na hao yake inabana. how devastating. Na alikuwa na watu ndani. So
and even as you continue, because you bring a very interesting bit here. Bakadara and all that, so mtu anaishi kwa nyumba ya mawe. But then you've also told us that you have some of those trainings in Mukuru kwa Njenga, you know, the Eastlands bit. And this person lives in a mabati, corrugated, you know, iron sheet kind of house. So that means, because I'm taking a look at nyumba ya mawe, even, you know, feeling the heat, kind of, you know, everything, compared to your mabati, it will maybe heat up, you know, faster. Tell us the variance of that.
Yeah, the mabati, of course, heats up faster, it burns faster, and actually, it radiates that fire to the next building. That's why you see a house like in Mathare and Mukuru, ikianza kuchomeka, about 30 or 300 will get burnt within a span of 7 minutes. That's why I've given the fire brigade number of Nairobi. So that when we are trying to put out this one house, kuna mtu anapiga zimamoto, yeah? And like here ya mawe, imetengenezewa na fireproof. Cement itself is fire resistant. So before it spreads to the next, it might take a lot of time. To the neighbor, might even not even get there.
And even as you continue, because this, even for someone watching, they'd really have to ask this. Fine, I live around Nairobi, and maybe I also witnessed this fire, but the response time that this fire brigade guys came was, let's say, even hours later. And you'd find, let's say, some of these fires, you can also tell us the exact times that, but do they happen mostly in the evening, night hours, also during the day? But then, what's the typical calling time? You know, I called, I live somewhere in kama wapi, let's say Mukuru kwa Njenga, nikapiga simu, kuna moto hapa, kujeni, hapa kwa chief, for example, kujeni, and then you guys come, let's say 1 hour later. What's the typical you know, thing that happened? The procedure also. The procedure.
Yes, thank you. Let me start with the procedure. We are roasting, you're noticing, as soon as I said, the Mabati house is on fire, call, piga simu, bro. As soon as umeona imewaka, piga simu. Why? 99% itaanza kuspread. So what people don't do is, hey, of course you're supposed to say, but people start salvaging their stuff.
Then now they call for the later.
That's what they own.
They're worried about,
they wanna own. So we have also to be fair with the people who live there. Lazima nise vitu zangu, nianza kupigia fire brigade. So the first thing is, a little nazima moto, call the fire brigade. I can tell you for free. And I hope people don't try this right now. If you call 020 22 22 181 now, the second ring, it will be picked up. Please don't try it if you're not in danger right now. Please. There's somebody who's in danger right now and they need that call. But, hold up.
Okay.
So as soon as you call, it takes from 7 minutes, not more than 13 to 14 minutes. The other extra 7 minutes is for what? Traffic jam, the distance and all that. But typically, within 7 minutes radius, tuna cover Nairobi. That is the Nairobi Fire Brigade. So it's from 7 to 14 minutes.
Right. You can tell us if that is actually true from wherever you stay. If you've actually ever tried to reach out to Africa Fire Mission, to other fire brigades, and just mkapata hiyo maneno yote. I see we have about 7 or about 6 minutes to wrap it up.
1 hour's already gone?
Yes, about 6 minutes to wrap it up. We can definitely use, you know, some of the 6 minutes to just tell us the kind of common mistakes people do. You've highlighted some, and also a few tips, practical tips on what to use.
Practical tips. Number 1, please own a smoke detector in your home. Your sauti, it is to inform you that there's an active flame or there is smoldering fire. Ile smoldering fire ni kama the one for smoking and things like that. It will put out this smoke detector. Own that one. It is available in safety shops.
All right. And it's affordable?
Yeah, it's very much affordable. It goes with less than 2,000 bob.
Hiyo ni pesa mzuri ya mkulima mdogo hiyo.
Una hata lunch yako sina ni 3,000 baadaye. So
usinipandishe sana. Okay, so there's a fire blanket.
Fire blanket, own one. Very readily available.
Very okay.
So the common mistakes that we do is that when this thing is on fire,
A gas cylinder. Okay.
Never, ever, ever throw this cylinder from the top. Ati oya, uko toka gas inawaka, and then you release it.
What's the danger that will happen?
This is compressed gas itself inside here. Yeah. We are talking about 30 bars. It can withstand 30 bars of pressure. Vile iko hapa sahi. So there's no way that ikikuwa hapa tinaweza lipuka. Not unless this whole thing is on fire. No, unless hii kitu Stanley iko on heat, is really hot. That's when it will blow up. But at a certain temperature.
Do you also do that? Because, for example, you had some leakages, because you showed us moto ikitoke hapa. What if there was some leakages, kitu ilifanyika and just some leakages mahali hapa, and the fire also is protruding from here? Do you also do the bucket
so in that trick? Instance, no. For example, imeanza kutokelezea wapi? Kwa hii crack. There's a crack here.
Okay.
Ikitokelezea hapo, what do you need to do? Call the fire brigade teke. That one hauwezi fanya, it's beyond you.
Na kama niko na hii kwa nyumba?
Hii, it will not work.
It won't?
Because it might work. It might work, but you just have like 6 to 7 minutes of time. It will work. Actually, this is a CO2 extinguisher, carbon dioxide extinguisher. You need to have it in your home. It's a clean agent that releases.
Right.
You police it on over here, but don't do it now.
I'm tempted to have the whole.
Don't police it. Itazimika. Ikikata kuzimika, piga 020 22 22 181. That is for Nairobi. You're good to go. Another way that you need to actually check, and that is a good point that you mentioned. There's actually an expiry time for this gas cylinders, and it is indicated. You might find somewhere like here on a sleeve. This one doesn't have. It is actually somewhere here on the ground on the cylinder itself.
Okay.
You find it is written, for example, B13. What does that mean? So A, B, C, and D. That letter A represents January, February, March. Letter B represents
April, May, June. Okay.
Letter D represents
July,
August, September. Letter D represents October, November and December. All right. So ukiona hapa kwa mfano sasa tuko 2013. Ukiona imefika 2013 inasoma tuko April.
2024 April.
2024. Okay, maybe umeona B 2024. Yeah. So by June 2024, it needs to go back where? To the manufacturer. For what? For different tests like hydrostatic test, impact test that I was telling you about 30 bars, and the pressure cycling test.
All right. So even as we kisimama, and it's one of those questions that I'm getting around here. We're definitely seeing the burns on your face. Is it from working here?
No. This I got burnt when I was 4 months old.
Is it what inspired you to get into this career?
No, it's just purpose. When you walk into your purpose, you and just know that this is what you are made for.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Where can guys get your services as we wrap it up?
Right. Yes. You can reach me on TikTok, Firefighter Jose. That's where you can reach me. Inbox me, and I will come and address your issue. You can reach us on africafiremission.com on all platforms. That is on YouTube, TikTok, everywhere else. TikTok, what else? X.
Okay, X.
And all other platforms.
Asante sana Jose. I'm usually standing here, Ringita. Asante sana for sticking around this marvelous